Man, I can't believe this crap, man. These cops are out here arresting people just for breaking the law. Man, these tyrants are out of control, bruh. I thought you were a lawyer, now you say you can rap. Well, I've listened to your record, maybe go take a nap. The rhymes you're spitting out, they make you sound like a nut. Your latest track, it's got less views now than Gun Cereal's butt. Well, you say you're just a man who wants to smoke out some weed, but you smoke yourself stupid, boy, get the help that you need. You think you could be like Tom McDonald, be an internet star? The problem is your brain's so tiny, it would fit in this jar.
It's a frivolous lawsuit.
You know you're gonna lose.
Frivolous lawsuit.
Now watch me play the blues.
Frivolous lawsuit.
You put against a cat.
Frivolous lawsuit.
Make sure you wear the hat. All parties have been sworn in. I've read your complaint.
It's a frivolous lawsuit.
The way it's written, it sounds like you've been smoking paint.
That means
if we have that title to your shit, we will take it.
Oh, come and take it, bitch.
All right. I want your money and I want your dignity, and I'm taking both.
To quote my good friend Artie, come take it, bitch. Come take it, bitch. Come take it, bitch. Come take it, bitch.
Come and take it, bitch.
She spit in my face.
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 Take it, bitch.
Take it, bitch.
She spit in my face.
You're a fucking idiot.
She spit in my face.
Stop, little thick dude.
A woman walks into the ladies' room at the mall. She enters one of these stalls and sits down to begin doing her business. As she starts to pee, she looks down at her shoes and sees a head poking under the stall, looking up at her with a camera. "What are you doing?" she screams, frightened. "I'm recording you," says Denver Metro Audits. "But this is a bathroom," she squeals. "Yes, a public bathroom, and there's no expectation of privacy in public," he tells her. "You don't belong in here," she yelled. "I didn't see any sign saying that," DMA replies. "It says ladies' room right on the door." Maybe it does, but it doesn't say no men allowed, does it?" he asked her. "What? That's stupid," she sputtered. "You're being a Karen about this, and what's stupid is shaving down there," DMA answered, holding his camera up. "If you let that bush grow in, it would create privacy for your hoo-ha like a hedge." She stared down at the activist lying on the filthy floor looking up at her. "A hedge? Look, they should put a lock on that door if they don't want people coming in. They need to create privacy," DMA said. "It says ladies' room. They assume men won't come in here." "Well, they shouldn't assume that. And I can film whatever I can see. It's my First Amendment right as an independent journalist." "Oh, you're a journalist. What are you working on?" she asked, sarcastically, wiping herself. "I can't divulge that information at this time. The story isn't finished yet," he lied as if there were a story. "No expectation of privacy in public," he reiterated. "But I'm in a stall," she cried. "Yes, and look, it's open on the top and the bottom," DMA answered in his thin voice. They need to create more adequate privacy because if I can see it, I can film it. You don't have to like it, but it's my First Amendment right. The conversation droned on like this for a while. The woman on the toilet and DMA on the filthy floor next to the toilet. Finally, the woman says, "Christopher, don't you think this is inappropriate? I'm your mom." And that's a true story. Absolute true story.
Oh man, I love that. It was great. Hello, hello, hello.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the stream. And let's see who we all got in the house today. We got Nancy Marcho first. What's up, Nancy? How you doing? Lord KJW, what's up? Let's see, Cliff Hickson, how you doing? We got Peck in the house. What's up, Peck? Machine Head 58, good morning to you too. Chelsea May, good morning, Hezokuai, and Razit Shine with Hezokuai Rashers. That's right, Cliff Hickson, Terry Barnes, Chelsea May, Nancy. Oh, great crowd as always. James H. Oh, what's up? Hey, great to see you. Chelsea May, Nancy Marcho. Hi, Kiss. What's up, Hi, Kiss? I hope you're doing good. Machine at 58. Dino's in the house. Nancy Marcho, Chelsea May, Peck, Lord KJW, who's now enemy. Oh, Maddie B, Agent of Chaos. What's up? Good to see you. Terry, Machine Head, Nancy, Chelsea, Weed Skador. What's up? Hashtag Razit Shine with Hezokuai. Terry Barnes. Skador, Chelsea May. Let's see, Mike Ingalls. What's up? What's up? Yanana, what's up? Captain Happy, what's up? Hashtag Razit Shine with Hezokuai. Well, good morning, everyone. Glad to see you all here today. As always. I got some good stuff I want to cover this morning. However, Andrew Forrest, what's up? I did wake up with I don't know what was going on, man. I think it's my allergies again, because I just got over a cold if you've been following me for a while, but today I woke up, I was just all stuffed up. And I had a little bit of a toothache going on too, so I'm not 100% today. So hopefully we'll be able to trudge through without any problems, but it's like, it's the weather. It's that time of year. What are you going to do? It happens. So, after the other day I made that video on Here's the Deal, I figured I was pretty much done with him, but it looks like he's kind of been doubling down on his going after us. In fact, yesterday he did 2 separate live streams attacking, he attacked the Fraud or Troll in one, and then he attacked Mark Stout in the other. Like, this guy's like really, really, really getting into like talking about us. But what's funny is that the things that he says, his arguments are so completely insane. Like, I almost don't want to even bother trying to explain why he's wrong, because it's so blatantly obvious that he is. It's like, you almost don't need me to point it out. Just listen to what he says, and it's like the stupidity that it comes out of his mouth is ridiculous. But what I'm finding more and more is that if you look at his chat room, like yesterday, he had, I'm trying to remember, he had Long Island audits in there. He had Broken System, Broken Trust in there. Roisin, what's up? He had, it was like a who's who of the frauditing community. He had everybody in there. Rogue Nation was in there. I don't know, man. He had everybody. I mean, the guy's like really, really, really becoming very quickly like a guru for all of these idiots. And they just like, yeah, you tell them, you give them hell. Here's the deal. What's up? And he says the dumbest shit ever. It's crazy. And the thing about him specifically that gets me is, and this is the thing, I'm listening to him. I like, he's obviously not learning anything from our end. Well, of course he's not going to, but I'm learning more from listening to him, because I'm beginning to understand more and more that one of the reasons why these people will never learn, and the main reason why you cannot even sit and have a conversation with these people, and it's fun, sometimes to have them on and debate them. Troll does it all the time. I've done it a few times, but I'm learning more and more so that it's kind of pointless to even try, because, and this is what I'm realizing more and more, this is what they do. They have these words in their head, these definitions, and you can't talk to them. What's up, the enforcer? Because their ideas are always the priority. I'll give you an example. If I say, like, if I'm trying to have a conversation with one of these people and I say, okay, so you get pulled over and you get a ticket, in their head, that word doesn't mean ticket. That word means road pirates are trying to force you to pay money and they're committing extortion against you. So I can't even get my sentence out, or anyone. You can't even get your sentence out because the second you say ticket, they're going to say, no. You're talking about the horrible, evil, rotten, tyrannical, nonsensical, evil, vile, vicious tyranny of extortion that these people are trying to pull. It's like, okay, are you going to let me say what I'm trying to say? No, because the only way you could speak to them is to grant them their false definitions of words that don't exist, or they won't let you speak if you're not speaking their language. But if you speak their language, then you're acquiescing. You're giving them that definition. You're acquiescing. Dag nabbit. I never knew that I couldn't say that word until I tried to say it. Acquiescing. Anyway, you're giving them that definition. If as soon as you use that in conversational terms, according to their terms, then you're agreeing with them, and they won't let you speak otherwise. But then you can't speak because you're not going to agree with their stupidity because it's stupid. Oh. The other thing I was looking at and thinking about after listening to this idiot for the last couple days, let's see, where was it? Oh, yeah. So another thing that he was talking about yesterday that was insane to me is he kept saying, like, well, we have acquiescing. Yes, thank you, Mike. Acquiescing. So, you know what? I can't say that word. I just haven't in a long time. So I'm like, oh, all right. So he's talking all this craziness, and he one of the things that he said yesterday, no, not accusing, Peck, acquiescing. You don't want to acquiesce to their demands because they're idiots. You don't want to acquiesce to their definitions that are meaningless because it's only in their brains. So yesterday I'm listening to this idiot, here's the deal, talking, and he's talking about, like, well, these auditors have to go out and do this because if they don't, then the SWAT team's going to be busting your door down and shooting your family. And it's like, no, no, that's just no. What's up, Scott Ammo? What's up, Terry Barnes? So I was thinking about one of the things they were saying, and I really thought about it. And I think actually this right here, if there's any question as to the legitimacy of what these guys are trying to do, Lord KJW, I'll address that in a minute. I know exactly who Paul Enslaved is. So I've been thinking about this idea, and to me, this is it. This is the proof right there that they're full of it. When they talk about the other cameras and how they always say that security cameras are basically the same thing as their cameras, which we all know is bull, right? One of their biggest excuses that they love to use is to say, well, you got those cameras. Yeah, but they're not public. Yeah, but they could be FOIA'd. And then they'll be public once I get them on my, through the FOIA request. I've thought about that a lot. And I realized something. If these guys really, truly wanted to get footage of how these people deal with the general public for the purpose of trying to find the ones that are rude and condescending and not doing their job, and then putting that information out to the public, why not do that? You got all these cameras here, and I could just FOIA them, so do that. Why do you have to go in there and give these people a hard time on purpose? If your goal is just to show video footage of how they act at work, FOIA request the security cam footage. Get the footage, dig through it, see if you can find them doing anything wrong. Then maybe you'll be doing investigative journalism. But that would actually be real. They're not going to do that. What's up, Sam? I am. All right, so now I want to check that out because Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind, that guy, he is like beyond. Like this, here's the deal, guy. He's an idiot, but at least he stays on topic. Even though he's wrong, he stays on topic. Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind, I've been on his panel several times. I've tried to talk to him, and it always turns into kind of like what I was saying earlier. If he says something and you don't respond using his definition, if you don't accept his definition, then, oh, you're just a bootlicker, and then they just start throwing insults at you, and he doesn't want to talk. But Andy's a crazy, yeah, he's a nut. They're all nuts. Anyone who thinks that this is a good idea and actually believes it is a nut. Like it's two different things. You got your people who actually believe in this stuff, they're nuts. Then on the other side, you got people who don't believe in it but don't care, and they're just doing it on purpose. Either way, they don't deserve respect because they're all bad. But let's see. I didn't know. I was so busy watching because, like I said, here's the deal. Did 2 streams yesterday, so I was watching him. So I didn't even see Paul on Slaves. So let's see. He was talking to Kick or about Kick or what? Is it still up? I don't see anything. Most recent thing I see from him was 2 months ago. I know that's not true because I was just watching him the other day. What the heck? Does he have a second channel or something? Or has he just removed all of his stuff? I don't know. What's up, Texas Tim? Well, if anyone has a link to that video, go ahead and drop it because I can't find it at the moment. What's up, Doc Danger? You missed it. I played your joke in my intro this morning. I made it a normal part of my alternate intro, not the one I normally use, but every once in a while I'll throw it in there just to mix it up, and I used it today. Let's see. Paul Enslaved cussing out Kick. Oh, boy. Hey, what's up, Jimbo? Yeah, it was crazy. See, Paul Enslaved is his whole panel and all of his sycophants and followers and people, they're just as dumb as Here's the Deal and his followers. Except Paul Enslaved takes it to a different level of stupidity. Here's the Deal's an anarchist and a sovereign citizen and all that other nonsense. But like I said, even though what he's saying is absolutely insane, he tends to stick on topic, while Paul Enslaved will start getting into, like I said, just ad hominems and insults and crap. What's up, Zerzuzaiquan? Good to see you. So anyway, in the meantime, Well, we're waiting to see if we got any links to that video from Paula Enslaved, because I can't find it. Here's a little piece of what Here's the Deal was up to yesterday. Let's see. I'm going to play this from a different source because it's a specific timestamp. This guy's so stupid. Oh, Mike, you got it? Let's see. Yeah, because I didn't know anything about that. I just knew about the one I was working on. Let's see. By the way, while you guys are all here, man, I love you guys so much. You have no idea. Like, for those of you who've been with me for a while, you probably are well aware that the amount of people that are in my chat right now, and I just started like today's stream, it's still early. The amount of people I have in here right at this moment is more than the total amount of people I was getting a month ago. Like, I love how this is growing, and you guys have been sticking with me through it all. Love you guys so much. This is great. He kept talking over kick. Well, that's not a surprise. That is not a surprise at all. These guys always talk over people, because if they let you talk and actually listen to what you have to say, then they'll have to admit that they're wrong. And don't forget, Doc, of course, you could, you could drop your link wherever you want. I definitely have no problem with you plugging your show on my show, because I love your show. The Doc Danger Music Show is great. They play up-and-coming artists, underground artists, and even, you can't drop it because you're not on the mod. I got you. I always forget that. I'm always like, just drop the link. And it's like, I can't if I'm not a mod. I always forget that that's a thing. Jimbo, thank you. I appreciate it. Let's see. Boom. We love Hezokuai. That's right. Well, I love me too. No, seriously, I thank you guys so much for your support. Well, in the meantime, while we're waiting to get that going, like I said, let's take a look at some more. In fact, this might actually be kind of nice. Like, because I had the two, because like I said, he did 2 videos yesterday of the Here's the Deal things I was going to watch. Maybe we could do a Doc Danger, and then, or not. See, I'm looking at the chat. I'm seeing Doc Danger. Sorry, Doc. I don't mean to compare you to this idiot. Maybe we could do a Here's the Deal, and then Paul Enslaved, and then another Here's the Deal, to spread it out a little bit so we don't get overblown with too much Here's the Deal stupidity. Listen to this guy.
But you try to fight it out with the cops so you can make an impression on YouTube.
So if you break the corporate entity's law, you can fight it out in the corporate entity's court after you've been thrown in prison by the corporate entity's law enforcers. That's an interesting way of.
See, that's the thing about Here's the Deal. I just pressed play. It's been on for 2 seconds, and I already got so much to unpack. This goes exactly back to what I was just saying. You can't talk to them because their definitions of words aren't the actual definitions of the words. You have to use their definitions that are just made up nonsense, or you can't have a conversation with them, right? It has to be this idea, like what he just said, right? Of, oh, okay, hold on. I got something else too. But anyway, let me go back to this for a second. Oh, what I was saying with this is, so he says, well, the corporate thing and the corporate thing. How many times do I have to explain this? These guys will never get it through their heads that the corporation, the United States is defined as a corporation. They always say, well, UCC code, blah, 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 says the United States is a corporation. No. UCC says within the context of this specific code, the U.S. is defined as a federal corporation. Specifically, they never mention this. They just say, see, it's a corporation. See, here's the proof. No, read it. It specifically says because Washington, D.C. is not one of the 50 states. It's its own entity. Therefore, when it comes specifically, because it's the commercial code, when it comes specifically to Washington, D.C. companies doing business with one of the 50 states, physically having trucks drive back and forth. You live in Washington, D.C., you got to be able to go to the store and buy something. There has to be trade. There has to be commercial activity. So for the purpose of the commercial code and its effect on Washington, D.C., the United States is defined within that code as a corporation. But he just states it like, oh, you're going to the corporation's court and you're going to listen to the corporation's cops and blah, blah, blah. Once again, and as always, taking the whole thing out of context. The Paul Unslaved link you sent me, that's the problem. I thought you said Paul Unslaved, and that's why I couldn't find it. I did see this. In fact, I covered it yesterday because this is Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind. I thought you said Paul Unslaved. Like, I didn't see him talking about Kick. I don't see a video with him and Kick. So I'm sorry. That was my bad. Yeah, I saw this video. I covered it yesterday. It's still great stuff, but yeah. That was Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind, not Paul Enslaved. But anyway, let's get back to the Sovereign Idiot talking about his stupidity and all of his insane followers. Man, ridiculous.
Of looking at it. See, that's not how our country came about. Our country came about by a bunch of common people who got sick of other people not leaving them alone. That's really what it amounted to. Who got sick of being bled from their time and laboring energies, the product of their time and laboring energies, through taxation without representation.
Okay.
They were trying to railroad into some kind of central banking scheme when they wanted their own sound, honest money. That's what Jefferson fought against his entire life. And that's where we are now as of 1913. We have a dishonest money system that is actually funding these law enforcement agencies, federal, state, and local, that's funding Washington's District of Criminals, that's funding the creation of all these laws, which kind of do drop from the sky. Oh, they get to talk about them. And like Nazi Pelosi said, well, in order to find out what's in it, you got to pass it first. Oh, okay, Nazi. Well, we'll just take your word for it that you have our best interest at heart. And now we have hundreds of gun laws when you only needed one. The Second Amendment shall not be infringed. That's enough for me. You mean you think that common people should have ICBMs and cruise missiles and Tomahawks and Patriots and tanks in their yard? You think they should have fully automatic firearms? I think we should infringe, because that's what people are saying when you want a regulation on something when the Constitution says shall not be infringed. A regulation, an ordinance, a policy, a limitation, no matter the reasons. Oh, this is for safety. This is for the safety of the masses. This is for the general welfare. I don't care what your reason is. It's still an infringement, and shall not be infringed still means shall not be infringed. That sounds dangerous, but who's going to be able to afford an ICBM? Who's going to be able to afford a Tomahawk? Last I looked, the Tomahawk was $1.4 to $1.7 million. You really going to have one? And who are you going to shoot it at? And then if you shoot it, are you going to be responsible for all the damage when it creates collateral damage? The free market has a way of edging those people out of society without welcoming in tyranny. And besides that, even if it was that dangerous, wouldn't you rather have dangerous freedom than peaceful slavery? Under dangerous freedom, you would keep 100% of everything you went to work to feed your family and provide clothing and shelter and food and all that. You'd be able to keep 100%. 0% would go to Washington's District of Criminals so that they could give boatloads of information, palletized $100 bills to Ukraine or to Israel or to Afghanistan or to Saudi Arabia. Your dollar would actually be worth something. It would actually be backed by gold.
Okay. Wow, this guy is so insane. So he's saying the Second Amendment gives us the right to buy tanks and ICBMs if we could afford them. Woo! Yeah, he's really stupid. He doesn't understand infrastructure at all. And I always like to point out the fact that when you look at someone like him, it's like, okay, who made the headphones you're wearing? Who made the clothes you're wearing? Who made the microphone you're talking into? Who launched the satellite that is bouncing your signal off for you to get your internet access? Where'd all that stuff come from? You think people should just build stuff in their backyard and then that's it? Like, you're all against the system, yet you're still participating in it. If you really, truly, really, truly believed in what you're saying, you would sell all your crap, give all the money away to charity, and then go live in the woods in Montana. And you couldn't use any tools because you'd have to buy them from somebody. So you'd have to just chop down the trees using your good looks, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. How about your glasses? Who made your glasses? Your hat, everything. I mean, come on. You'd have to go completely off grid, but you wouldn't do that. That's not comfortable.
It'd be backed by silver. It'd be backed by precious metals instead of the word of the Federal Reserve. So yeah, give me dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery any day. And if that means that people that I don't think should have guns, go for it. I'll have some too.
I've been arrested and sat in a cell when I didn't need to. I could have apologized to the judge any time during my 5-day sentence.
Who said anything about apologizing?
This is what I'm telling you, that I sat in jail and I didn't apologize because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make a difference. But either way, man, laws are supposed to be passed constitutionally, which doesn't mean the process. It means they have to be passed in line with the Bill of Rights. So basically, when any gun law is passed, it's passed in violation of the Second Amendment. When any search and seizure law is passed that requires somebody not to have a warrant from a court, that's in violation of the Fourth Amendment. And all of these, what is it called? Eminent domain laws, they're illegal because the property owner is the only person who can really dictate what is a just compensation for their property. And the Fifth Amendment says that if the government's going to take it, you have to be justly compensated. So all of these laws are unconstitutional. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So two things on that. First of all, when those laws were first proposed, I think we can be fairly certain that someone challenged their constitutional quality, their constitutionality of those laws. Somebody smarter than you, smarter than me, and that's how laws get passed. And then the second thing is, if you think they're illegal, then bring some charges, file a complaint. Let's if they're illegal, you're claiming they're illegal. Let's see you have a court agree with you, because they won't. Because you.
No, that's fine. Look, so I'll tell you, like, I get it, man. You think that the government is going to make the right decision. I do want to point out, this is not my main point, but you said that people that are smarter than me and you are making the decisions. Dude, Joe Biden's been in the Senate ever since, I think it's the 70s. So I don't want to think about that. But let's check this out. So the Bill of Rights.
After this point, Craig, I'm gonna have to move on to someone else. But
well, I've got to make this point though.
Make your point, and then I'll.
It's not a debate. It's just him saying.
No.
Craig is the guy in the middle. This is Craig. Someone asked in the chat who Craig is. It's Craig from CH&TY Audits, who currently is in jail as we speak. But anyway,
for sure, make your point. Then he'll do a closing remark, and then we'll move on to the next guest.
Okay. So, for about, I'd say 2 decades.
Anyway, that clip's about to end. That's a short clip. That was just showing how, here's the deal, was saying that he thinks the Second Amendment gives us the right to have tanks and ICBMs and all this crazy stuff in our backyard if we could afford it. Yes, Adam Strange. He is in jail at the moment. This is an older video. But so the other point I wanted to make was here's the deal's live stream from yesterday. But then like 2 hours later, he did another live stream. He's like really, really doubling down on going after us. And I wanted to share some of the stuff that he did after that. Where is it? I got it up here. Here we go. Well, here, I'll just pull it up this way. Talking about Mark Stout. Because they call him a sellout. Because he actually saw the light.
Kids and their grandkids' freedom and our kids and grandkids' freedom. And I'm going to highlight this guy right here. And again, there's no ill will here. There's no ill intent. I want to free minds. I want to set brush fires of freedom in the minds of men. And I assume that's what Sean Paul Reyes from Long Island Audit wants to do. When he goes out there with his camera, he's not just pushing buttons and pulling levers. He's flexing his rights. Why? Because he's a free man and freedom matters.
Mark Stout. S-T-O-U-T. Stout. Mark Stout.
And it matters when somebody crosses that
right
line
here
and tries to take away that freedom from him, no matter how insignificant you might think. Now, you might think it's insignificant that frickin' media was asked to show an ID, was asked to identify himself. But that's a violation of the Fourth Amendment, guys. This cop should go, you know what? It's none of my business who you are because you're not engaged in a criminal activity. It's not my business who you are because you're not harming anybody. It's not my business. You know, even if there's hearsay that you did X, I'm here to investigate and find out if you did it. I'm not here to believe what hearsay has told me or what some little birdie has put in my ear. I am here to serve and protect. And one of the things that I'm here to protect, I'm here to serve you and protect your freedoms. Now, if you violated somebody else's rights, then we got an issue. That's what this cop should be saying. And that's what I want all cops all over the place to do. See, it's not so much that they derive a paycheck. It's that they derive a paycheck from an occupation that is decidedly antithetical to the Constitution that they swore to protect, defend, and uphold. So the name of this
guy sure stars a lot of opinions.
Frauditors Exposed. And again, it looks like he's got like I don't know. It just looks like this is literally his header. It's got Long Island Audit's face, Sean Paul Reyes' face on here. I guess he's here to expose frauditors. But I want to look into what the heck frauditors are. I mean, if you're talking about somebody who's out there exercising their rights and they just happen to be thrown in jail as they're exercising their rights, I saw even under the last video I did, the last live stream, but Craig's in jail. It's like, but that's not the point. If Craig is in jail because somebody did something evil to him as he was standing for your rights and mine, you should have a problem with it. The issue is not, did he go to jail? Did he get arrested? Did he get hassled and harassed and kicked off the property by cops? The question is, did he do something wrong? Because we know the wrong is committed routinely by bad law enforcers and people who say that they're security guards. So we're going to discuss this idea of limited public forum. Let me just ask you real quick. What is the supreme law of the land? We're in America. I'm recording from America. Now, you could be from the UK. You could be from Australia, New Zealand.
You're anti-American.
Watching this broadcast. But what is the supreme law of the land in the United States of America? By the way, the United States is not a country. It's a corporation, according to Title 28, Section 3002.
I just explained that. That's not true. That's not true. You can take a look at it, and you're not going to accept what it actually says. They never accept what it actually says. And I already went through that, but since he brought it up again, let's explain it again. You're talking about the commercial code, specifically within the context of that code in terms of Washington, D.C. physically doing business with other states is what they're talking about in the commercial code. For the purposes of that code, the United States within that is defined as a corporation. Not the United States is defined as a corporation, period. That's just wrong. It's just wrong. And real quick, I want to show something else. Just real quick, because he keeps praising frickin' media. So for anyone here who doesn't know who frickin' media is, let me show you a short clip of the guy he's praising, talking about how awesome freaking media is and how sweet and innocent and how these horrible tyrannical cops asked him for ID once. And let's see what kind of person he is and how he holds cops accountable. This is how freaking media holds the police accountable. This is an example of freaking media at his best.
You speak like the cock in your mouth. Bye, cum cake. See you later, sweet nuts.
BBY.
Was that an Indiana plate?
Yep, sure was.
Oh, he's one of them Hoosiers?
Yeah.
He's a Hoosier?
What's up, Vestige?
Hey, you can go fuck yourself, too. I fucked your mama last night. Now what? Now what? I fucked your mama last night, huh?
What's up, Carol?
She enjoyed it. She enjoyed it. I do. I do. And I got a life, and it's none of your business. So shut the fuck up, Karen. Shut the fuck up, Karen. Shut the fuck up, Karen. Shut the fuck up. Hey, roll your weed up and shut your hole.
Go get some tea.
Put a dick in your mouth.
Fuck
Put a dick in your mouth. I do. I got it. You're number one, too. You're number one, too, cum cake.
Go suck Trump's
You're number
dick,
one, too,
you
cum
fucking
cake.
hillbilly.
Bye, cum cake. Cum guzzling gutter slut. Fucking talk shit to me. I'll talk it right back, dummy.
It's cum guzzling afterbirth of a lesbian clusterfuck. Get it right.
Now that's what I call a shining example of government accountability and making sure that our rights are being protected by government agencies. Yep, these First Amendment auditors sure are doing that by doing this, right?
Any filming of somebody's license plate or car is illegal.
You're wrong.
You're an idiot.
Dum-dum.
You're an idiot. Go back inside and shut your blowhole.
Pants on, Grandpa.
Idiot.
What's up,
Recording
Cat
license
Woo?
plates is illegal. Are you dumb?
You turn around and call me one more thing.
Idiot.
I'll
Idiot.
call me a fucking idiot.
I did, idiot. Come on, come
Why?
get you some.
Why?
Come get you some, idiot.
What the fuck you call me an idiot?
Get out of my face. Get out of my fucking face. Don't you fucking walk up on me.
So he just pepper sprayed him. So that's how you hold the government accountable, is by pepper spraying random people on the street. Yeah, there was a pot dispensary. Yep. So anyway, this is that because we're watching Here's the Deal, and he keeps praising freaking media. So I just wanted to show you an idea of who this guy thinks is a great person and who he's praising.
I'm not a liar/lawyer.
You are a liar. That's for damn
basically
sure.
synonymous in terms. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't graduate law school. Anything that I tell you is just merely my opinion.
Yes. One
based
thing he
on
said that's true.
Objective facts based on experience. Don't take
Based
what
on
I said
stupidity.
at face value. Do your own research. Come to your own conclusions.
Julie
and
Weaver,
act
what's up?
accordingly to your own conclusions, not based on what I tell you. I could be wrong. I
You
I need to be corrected.
You
I
are.
could be wrong. I'm a human being.
Yep.
But let's go over this idea of limited public forum. So what's the supreme law of the land? Oh, that's right. It's the Constitution of the United States. What's included
you
in the
don't wanna
Constitution of the United
follow.
States? Something called the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. What is amendment number 1? You have a couple of rights that Congress cannot infringe on and cannot abridge and cannot make a law against. Cannot. The Bill of Rights are restrictions on the government, not on the people. The government is the idea that other people have a right to rule you and steal your stuff. This is
See,
a
there he goes
restriction. This First
again.
Amendment, we're going to read it in its entirety. As a refresher, oh, I already know that. RAPS, R-A-P-P-S, religion, assembly, petition, press, speech. I already know it. Yeah, well, let's just look at it again, because we're going to also be talking about limited
Because
public
you're an
forum.
idiot.
What's the supreme law of the land? Limited public forum or the First Amendment? Thank you for the super chats. I will make sure that I read out all super chats in the middle and at the end, but I don't want to break my train of thought here.
Okay, this guy has no train of thought. His train of thought derailed before he even started speaking. So what he's about to get into is this whole big thing. He's about to get into this whole big thing about how limited public forum versus public forum, and how Mark Stout's an idiot for saying there's a difference, and what these people in the First Amendment says you can do whatever you want whenever you want, and the government can't do anything about it. Basically, what it's breaking down to, and what he will not address, even though he addresses it, but he doesn't actually address it. He like reads over the parts in the memo that talk about this, but he doesn't actually get into any detail with it, because then it would probably go against his false narrative. Is the whole point of, and I said this yesterday, but this guy keeps harping on it. Excuse me. He doesn't understand the basic principle that if, say, for example, a post office is built, the reason it's built is not for you to walk in there and stand around taking pictures with your phone. That's not the reason that building was built. They didn't lay brick and mortar for that purpose. There's a specific purpose for these buildings. If you're not in those buildings for that purpose, that could be fine. And this is the thing that these guys don't understand. And he's going to make this claim later. And this is another reason why I showed the freaking media clip. He's going to say, I don't understand why you bootlickers, talking about us, think that there's a problem with this. And you see me, you'll see me in his chat screaming, that's not what they do. If that was what they did, I wouldn't be sitting there bitching about it. They do what I just showed you, what they do. They go in there and they talk trash and they cause trouble and they get everybody all hyped up and crazy, trying to instigate an interaction. And he's like, well, I don't get it. What's the problem? All they're doing is this. No, they're not. That's a lie. And you know better. And if you don't, then you need to shut up, because you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Reading the First Amendment, Congress, which is the opposite of progress,
what an asshole,
shall make no law, regulation, ruling, respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise of that religion, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and petition the government for a redress of grievances. Congress shall make no law abridging your freedom of the press. Well, Brian, you might say, I don't have freedom of the press. I didn't go to, journalist school. I didn't graduate from a university with a 4-year degree with a PhD in journalism, and I'm not a part of mainstream media, so I'm not the press. If you got one of these, you're the press. And we can call it First Amendment auditors or whatever. You are the press. You are a historian. You are recording the facts as they play out in front of your camera, and cameras don't lie. They just record.
Ha! He just said it. The difference between a journalist isn't about whether or not you have the right, what's up, Salacious, to film. Yeah, David, hi. Has nothing to do with whether or not you have the right to film. That's not the point. It's not whether or not you have a journalism degree. That's not the point. They never address the issue. They talk around it and come up with all this BS nonsense that's just flat out lies and false narratives. The reality of the situation is, if you say you're press, and he just said it, he just said, you're press because your camera is capturing what's going on around you. No, it's not. You're causing what's going on around you and filming it for YouTube clout. Press is if something happens and a member of the press films it, not a member of the press causes something to happen and then films it. They don't. Legitimate press isn't someone who, plants a bomb in a building so that they could film it blowing up. Like, you don't cause the issue and then film it and then call it press. And he just said they're pressed because they're filming what's happening. No, they're not. They're causing what's happening.
Record the police, record your public officials, record anything that you can see in a publicly accessible area. You know why? Because it's your right. And if anybody infringes on those rights, no matter the excuse they give, no matter the justifications they pile on top of each other, no matter how good it sounds, no matter how much case law it has behind it, no matter how resolute the Supreme Court justices were in their 9-0 decision against it, you have the right to freedom of the press. You are the press when you're recording history, especially with something that doesn't lie, and that is an audio recording or a video recording device. So Congress shall make no law prohibiting or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. No law. Well, what about limited public forum laws? Limited public forum laws must fall in the category of the First Amendment. No, actually they don't, unless you count yourself among the pool of the cognitively dissonant. You have freedom of the press, period. No ands, no ifs, no buts, no justifications, no.
Another thing that really gets me about this guy and the stuff that he's been doing the last few days, because this is all just from yesterday, is that so much of what he says is basically him describing exactly what he's doing or exactly what frauditors do. Like, he's taking all of these things that he's saying that the government does or that the police do and describing what he's doing or what frauditors do. Like, how does he not see that? Cognitive dissonance, you just described yourself, buddy. Holy crap, this guy's dumb.
Supreme Court tyrants. No.
And yesterday when I covered him, like, I had seen him here and there. He's been around for a while. His channel's kind of big, but there's been there's a pretty good one from David. You don't define what press is. I do. Like, honestly, and that goes back to what I said at the beginning before you got here, Dave, so you probably didn't hear it. These guys love using definitions of words, especially, here's the deal, that aren't the definitions of the words, right? And it's like, well, you don't get to decide what the definition is. No, but words have definitions. I can't just decide that chair means lopsided hoosie cow. Like, you don't just make up definitions. Words have meaning. They do. Otherwise, we'd all just be like, so it's not up to me what the definition of press is, and it's not up to you what the definition of press is. The definition is what it is. Accept it, or I don't know, go move to the Soviet Union or something. I guarantee you the definition of press is not someone who says, give me a FOIA, do what I tell you because you're my servant. Do it now. Do what I say because you're my servant. Do it now because I have a camera and you're my servant. I don't think that's the definition of press. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No edict from the President of the United States. Doesn't matter what the governors say. Doesn't matter what your congressman says.
Doesn't matter what you say because you're just some random idiot on the YouTube.
Line themselves against you and get out fancy pieces of paper and sign their John Hancocks and say, no, it's limited public forum or nothing. Doesn't matter because the supreme law of the land is now and has been for 250 something years close to the supreme law of the land. And if it's
which was written by people on a little piece of paper. So what the hell are you saying, you idiot?
It's the supreme law of the land. If it's the pinnacle, it's the absolute highest you can go. then there's nothing above it, and that would include limited public forums. Now, here's what
You're a limited
this
public
guy's
idiot.
name is Mark Stout from Frauders Exposed. So he says limited public forum. This is in his description and under his YouTube channel. Individuals do not have a constitutional right to film in government buildings. What are you? You are press. You don't have the constitutional right to freedom of press, says Mark Stout.
That's
in
not what
government
he said.
buildings.
That's not what he said.
Well, what is government? According to Lincoln, it's of the people, by the people, for the people.
Right, that's why we vote.
And it shall not be vanquished from the earth. Really? Well, I don't buy that.
Well, that's because you're an anarchist, a social sovereign citizen, and an asshole.
You can't have government. A synonym of government is slavery. A synonym of government is right to rule people who don't want to be ruled. It can't be, government can't be of the people, because what if some of the people don't want government? Well, now we got a little problem.
Well, then go move somewhere else. Go live in the woods. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Because now you're speaking for all the people and broad brushing them, when probably a large percentage of them disagree with the government of the people, by the people, for the people. And what is government anyway? Is it some
What's up, Mark?
enigmatic
What's up,
entity?
stranger?
Can you go to Washington, D.C. and say, aha, look at the beautiful, pristine, marbled hallways of Congress. This is government. Oh, look at the Lincoln Memorial. This is government. Oh, look at where they seat. They're seated in the houses of Congress. Look, they even have seats. Those seats, it's the seat of government. What is government? It's enigmatic. It's a term to describe a certain group of people who believes they have a higher claim over your life and property than you are, to the point where they make these rules, these opinions of politicians backed by the threat of force. And if you don't do these rules, if you don't follow the ordinances, then they believe, and they're just demented minds, that you can be punished and have your rights 100% taken away from you.
All right. So, based on what he just said, it sounds to me like what he's saying is that we should have let Darrell Brooks go. Based on what he just said, it means that the government should have absolutely no power to do anything at all, ever. So now there's no roads, there's no garbage pickup, there's no medicine, there's nothing. If you murder somebody, oh, well, screw them. They probably needed to die anyway because they didn't have a big enough gun to defend themselves from you. It's their own fault. They should have followed the Second Amendment and bought a bigger gun. And if there were 50 of you guys with guns against one person, well, then screw you. You need to die anyway, because everybody just needs to shoot each other. That's the world I want to live in. Don't you understand? That's the definition of freedom, is everybody shooting everybody else and murdering each other until everyone's dead. Like, there should be no rules. So what's stopping everyone from just murdering everyone else if there's no rules? What these people don't understand is that the cops break the chain. And what I mean by that is, you go to his house because there's no rules anymore, right? So you're poor and he's got more than you do. So you go to his house to steal his stuff. And if he gives you a hard time, you shoot him. We're talking about, here's the deal, Nicody. So now his family says, hey, Hezokuai shot him. So now they're going to come after me and shoot me. And then my family's going to say, hey, that guy shot Hezokuai, and they're going to go after them. And then their people are going to come back after me, and my people are going to come back after them. And everyone just keeps shooting each other and shooting each other and shooting each other until everyone's dead. The cops break the chain. That's the point. That's what these people are not getting. The cops come in and they take somebody away and they punish them for shooting somebody. Now, you don't have to run back and shoot their family, and they run back and shoot their family, and everyone just keeps going back and forth until literally everybody's dead. Eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. The cops break the chain. They're like, okay, you're not going to come and kill this guy. We're going to grab him and we're going to lock him up for you so you don't have to worry about him anymore. problem's taken care of. We took care of it. They're breaking the chain. Police e-shot people for much less. Yeah, and random people on the street shoot random other people for a lot less. I saw a dude get shot over a hand gesture. He made a gang symbol with his hand and he got shot over it. So, yeah, people do get shot for a lot less. So what? So that means that everyone should just be allowed to just kill everybody, because why not? Because that's freedom. No, that's stupidity. There has to be rules in a civilized society. And you say you don't want a civilized society, but you're not going off grid. You're not going to Montana and living in the woods where there's no rules. There's a country in Africa that literally has no ruler. It's just empty land that anyone can claim as their own. And if you live there and stay there, it literally will be your land. Go there. Make your own rules. Be king of sand. You'll be free.
That's why what Sean Paul Reyes and the Audit and San Joaquin Valley Transparency and who else is in here? Lick the Whole Boot. Let's just name some of them off. Direct D, Brooklyn Audit, Mandatory's in here. Rathguard.
See all the people he got following him.
What these channels are all about is identifying and retaining and holding fast to individual unalienable rights that weren't given to you by a man. And
wait a minute, hold on a second. Okay, David, you should know better than that. The people in Chicago, like in those neighborhoods, are complaining that there's not enough cops. And now, as of the 1st, they're going to start that new law that pretty much makes everything legal in Chicago. It's going to be great to see how that works out.
And can't legitimately be taken by man, no matter what court cases say, no matter what the Supreme Court case says, no matter what executive orders are. Let me remind you of 1933 of Executive Order 6102, where it actually made every American who held physical gold a criminal, punishable up to 5 to 10 years in prison and $10,000, a $10,000 fine if they catch you owning physical gold. Is it a crime to own physical gold? FDR said it was, because he made an edict. It's nonsense. It's a limited public forum. Individuals do not have a constitutional right to film in government buildings, says Mark Stout and case law. Or on government.
You know what they do have a right to do? Use their brains. You should try that sometime.
Building property, which are limited public forums. Now,
I'm going to go refill my coffee real quick. If he says anything important, let me know.
I'm not arguing that there's such a thing in case law called limited public forums, but is that higher than the supreme law of the land? I don't think so. Hey, Skippy, what's the supreme law of the land again? Erwin, I believe that it is the Constitution of the United States. Very good, Skippy. Well said. And nothing shall come above it, including limited public forums. Case law clearly establishing that individuals do not have the right to film, get this, in city halls or places like city halls. This is Andrew Sheets versus City of Punta Gorda. If you read it, it's just embarrassing that human beings are literally going to create case law that are going to take away the supreme law of the land from their own lives. See, these Supreme Court tyrants and these lower court district tyrants are literally making laws against themselves and their posterity. That's how insane this is. It's truly, look, every sentence I read, it's like you just shake your head going, no, this can't be. What is this, a Twilight Zone skit? So he says clearly established law says that individuals don't have the right to film. And then it says case law. Not the supreme law of the land, but case law clearly establishes that individuals don't have the right to film in police stations and places like police stations. So the police, through the government, local, federal, state, it doesn't matter, they can extract and extort the American taxpayer. Did I say tax cattle? I didn't mean that. Yes, I did. So they can extort, they can shake you down and take a portion of your income, your time and laboring energies, because they feel like they can, because they feel like they can enslave you. And that's what a master does to a slave. They claim the property of another against that person's consent. And then they put it in the coffers of the local police department. And then they use that to buy nice, souped up 450 horsepower, 550 horsepower cruisers and radar guns and tickets and ticketing machines and fancy laptops and helicopters and canine units and special, drug enforcement task agents to align themselves against you and come up with justifications on why they can take away more of your rights, and how they can form a SWAT team and have a Bearcat or an MRAP parked outside your house and the SWAT team behind shields. And you're in there thinking that you're secure in your person's house with papers and effects. You're not. 3 o'clock in the morning. Please open up. We have a search warrant. Boom. Flashbang. Dog mysteriously dies under strange circumstances. We thought he had a gun. We feared for our lives. Run, Skippy, run. Man, if you're that fearful that you're going to pull a gun on somebody who's unarmed that's trying to obey your commands, Daniel Shaver, Philando Castile, Eric Gardner, Schaefer Cox, Jeffrey Winehouse. I mean, the list is ridiculous and embarrassing. Botham John, if you're that scared, being a cop is probably not the occupation for you, especially if you're going to make your profession becoming a stench in the nostrils of the American people to the point where you feel like it's okay to shake them down at every turn. Road piracy, policing for profit. So they say case law clearly establishing that individuals don't have a right to film the police. Case law, huh? Case law. What?
All right. See, this is what I'm talking about. Ugh. This guy is so stupid. And all of these guys have the same kind of attitude where it's like, again, what I was talking about earlier about how they use these words, these definitions that don't actually exist other than in their own heads and stated as fact. Like, he builds this picture, and I don't understand. I really don't. I'm trying. That's one of the reasons why I listen to people like this guy and Paulo Enslaved and Broken System and Rogue Nation and all these guys. When they actually come on and talk, I try to listen to what they're saying, because there is still, out of all the stuff, I pretty much got it all down pat at this point, right? For those of you who don't know, I've literally wrote a book about it, The Frauditor's Handbook, available on Amazon, $4.99. So I know and I understand what these guys are talking about, but there is still one thing that I don't understand, and I've never heard any of them give a good explanation to, is where do they get this idea that the cops are constantly attacking us all the time on all ends and they never stop? Where do they get that idea? He's sitting here doing his stream. He's not got SWAT teams busting into his house and pulling him out of his chair for expressing his freedom of speech on the internet. And they're not doing that to me either. And when I'm driving my car, unless I'm doing something wrong, I'm not going to get pulled over. And if I do, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show them my driver's license. I don't get the problem. They make it sound like the second I walk out that door, I'm going to get tackled by a group of cops and they're going to beat the hell out of me for no reason. That's not real. It's not real. Their story is a false narrative. And then they'll always pick and choose the one thing where somebody did do something wrong, where a cop did do something wrong, where the government did do something wrong, and say, see, that proves that every time you fart, 5,000 cops are going to slam your walls down and beat the crap out of you and shoot you in the face. Really? Then how come that doesn't happen? Wait a minute. I saw a SWAT team do that yesterday. To who? Somebody who was maybe a criminal? See, that's the thing. Like, why would SWAT just show up? SWAT? Just show up. For what? Okay, so if I call 911 right now and say, hey, send a SWAT team to my house and hang up, they'll show up, break in the house and start shooting everybody? Really? Really? That's a thing? Wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that was a thing. Or is there a reason why they would send SWAT? Again, it always comes down to this idea, right? This whole thing where they'll say, well, if these guys do this or whatever, but okay, let's go with something easier, right? Because everyone's murder, shooting people, that's way over the deep end. Okay, let's go with something simple, getting pulled over for no driver's license or no license plate on your car. Well, these cops pulled me over for no reason. You just said you didn't have a license plate on your car. Yeah, but that's not a reason to pull me over. No, yeah, that is a reason to pull you over. Yes, that is a reason. You don't like the reason. You don't agree with the reason, but it is a reason. SWAT doesn't just bust into your house and kill everybody. That's not a thing. Is it possible that perhaps maybe that has happened? Of course, anything could have happened at some point. But there's a reason. Even if the reason was wrong or incorrect, they don't just randomly show up at your house and kill you. Because none of us are dead. None of these idiots are dead. So where are all the cops going around shooting them all? They're not. Mama Jama.
What did we just read right here? Let's see, case law. This right here says you can't abridge the freedom of speech or the press, but the case law says you can. Freedom of speech says you can't. Case law, freedom of speech, case law. Okay, so what is it? Is it case law or freedom of speech? Because I don't see any concession for limited public forums in the First Amendment. Do you guys see it? Maybe I'm blind. Maybe I need another prescription for my dopey glasses. I am here, and SJVT is here, and cameras everywhere is here, and hopefully other auditors are here. Long Island Audit, all of them out there are here to defend your rights as you, people who are exposing frauditors, are tearing down your own rights. Amazing. And that's why one of the reasons I played this video from Frickin' Media is because it's so ironic to me that Frickin' Media is standing for the rights of a guy who's trying to take his rights away. Who's the champion here? Who's the moralist here? Holy cow, Long Island Audit, man! I appreciate that. That was very generous. I will read. Well, is this? Thanks for doing a live stream on this topic. Mark Stout is delusional. Mark Stout, by the way, is this guy from Frauditors Exposed. I'll read the other super chat here too. Let's see. Thanks for doing this live stream on this topic. Mark Stout is delusional in his legal analysis. Sheets versus Punta Gorda isn't case law. Mark Stout portrays it as case law, but it's an injunction. Mark Stout is a failed activist and tyrant, period. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that. And even, let me just go further. Even if this Sheets versus City of Punta Gorda, and even if this Stout versus Mitchell district court was actual case law, case law is not the supreme law of the land. How many times has the Supreme Court, rogue tyrants of the Supreme Court, gotten it wrong? And it all boils down, if you don't take anything away from this video, take this away. It's about doing what is right. And is it right to infringe on somebody else's right as they exercise yours and my rights of the First Amendment, freedom of speech? The next super chat is from Scalzo Photo. He says limited public forum doesn't limit the entire First Amendment. Case law might limit loud protests in City Hall, but that doesn't mean the rest of the 1A is limited. Cameras asking questions is quiet. Yeah, but wait a second, guys. I'm going to show you. We're going to delve into this because apparently, if I'm understanding this right, Mark Stout has written a paper against Long Island Audit called, this is a memorandum from Mark Joseph Stout. You can see it right here. We're going to be going through this in detail, and it is fascinating. It is fascinating the lengths to which an individual will go to steal not only your rights in a dubious way, I might add, but to steal his own rights. Do you realize that by writing a memorandum like this, Mark, you're literally telling the government it's okay for you to steal my rights in certain situations? If it's okay to take your rights in emergency situations or some well-justified situation, then the government will always craft more emergency situations to take away more of your rights. Like Rahm Emanuel said and Hillary Clinton said, never let a good crisis go to waste, even a fabricated crisis. We'll create a fabricated crisis so we can take more of your rights away, because that's always the goal of the statist. That's always the goal of the tyrant, to lessen your rights. And I would hope it's the goal of every First Amendment auditor to retain and bolster and show people that they have rights. That's why when I walk around, generally, not always, because sometimes
stupid is as stupid does, Mister. Here's the deal: face, ass, crack, head, brain, sandwich, bunghole, sausage, douche canoe. Oh, this guy is so dumb. All right, take it easy, Texas Tim. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right, see, this is what I'm talking about, though. Like, I love the fact that all you people always love to complain about the wellness checks. So, here's the deal. Because none of these guys ever think anything through to their logical conclusion. All right. So let's say the police got rid of wellness checks. What would happen to all the old ladies who die alone? They would just sit and rot in their house forever? No wellness checks on someone who doesn't show up for a few days? Like, there's a reason why wellness checks happen. Because sometimes they do find dead bodies. Sometimes they do find people that are ODing. Sometimes they do find people that aren't dead whose lives they can save. It's not just so that they have an excuse to try and bust somebody for something. There's a legitimate reason behind what they do. Well, see, that's the thing, Nancy, and this is this is the thing. It's well, yeah, wellness checks are a different affair. But see, this is the thing. And like David's saying this, and look, here's the deal. And again, it always goes back to the old argument, right? I've always said, and I always will say, and I'm going to say it again right here, right now. I do not and will not support bad people doing bad things. If they're bad cops, then they deserve to be punished. If they're bad government officials, if they're corrupt, then they deserve what they get. The problem is these guys are literally physically going out there and causing these issues and making it worse, supposedly in the process of fighting to make things better. What's up, K-Far? And I know he understands exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, man. Stupid people everywhere.
sometimes it's not prudent. I will acknowledge that it's tactically superior to carry concealed, so that if there is a bad guy in the room, he doesn't single you out and pull the trigger on you and get the drop on you before, you know, he takes care of everybody else. But I open carry for the primary reason of setting brush fires of freedom in the minds of men, so that they can see that attached to this firearm is a smiling face, is a cordial individual, is a person who just wants peace. But you can carry. The non-aggression principle in anarchy does not mean that you don't show aggression in certain warranted situations that call for it. You want to see some serious aggression, then mess with a peaceful person's rights and his family's lives.
Yeah.
And then you'll see some serious aggression. So I want to go over this real quick. This is apparently written by Mark Stout.
And this is another thing, too. For those of you who didn't see it, Kfar just did a video where he was talking about how he carries. Like, nobody on our end is saying that, well, I mean, obviously your own personal politics or whatever, but the point is, we're not calling for the Second Amendment to be repealed. We're not calling for the First Amendment to be repealed. What we're saying, and have always said from the get-go, look, all right, this wasn't an issue 20 years ago. Not because we didn't have the technology yet. Yes, we didn't. But that's not why it wasn't an issue. The reason why it wasn't an issue was because they didn't have to make laws limiting what you say. Because what you say was limited by the fact that if you went around acting like these guys back then, somebody would knock your damn teeth out. And then you know, hey, maybe I shouldn't say that. And you could say that, well, that's horrible, but listen, and this might sound silly, but this is why it's a great example, because it is silly. The frickin' Brady Bunch. What's more sweet? What's more innocent? What's more appropriate than the Brady Bunch? And what happened to the bully that made fun of Cindy? Peter knocked his damn teeth out. Even the Brady Bunch, you don't talk that way to people. The government never had to make laws about it because people took care of it themselves. You got in somebody's face and acted that way, they'd bash you in the head. And then you know, I'm not going to talk that way anymore. It had nothing to do with whether or not it was legal to talk that way. You'd just take a beating. Now, because everyone hides behind the cameras and has their little pepper spray, nobody, like, they get away with talking like this. But this is why we're starting to see more and more of these videos of people actually smacking around frauditors, because they're starting to get the message out there. What the frauditors actually are educating the general public is that the cop isn't going to do anything except for let the frauditor go. So people are going to start getting into it and taking care of it themselves.
Out. Embarrassing as this, I'm going to be going over it. And it's prudent because, again, what's the supreme law of the land? Number one, actually, that's number two. Number one, what is right? It's never wrong to do right. And it is never right to do wrong.
Wait a minute. I have to make one thing absolutely clear, David. You're not talking about name calling. You're talking about stating facts. There's a difference.
And this is what he's vying for. He's vying for and pushing for and justifying the doing of wrong by government functionaries.
Blah blah.
So this is stout pro se litigation. In other words, they do litigation on their own behalf without, like another attorney. Mark Joseph Stout. 2, the United States Postal Service, the Department of Justice, state and local police and sheriff's department, federal and state attorney general, and town and city hall, library, and other government administrative employees, and to all other interested parties. And then he says right here, this is the coup de grace right here. But wait, there's more. You would think that with the turning of each page, it couldn't get worse. It gets worse. The justifications get thicker. The tyranny becomes deeper. The oppression gets more oppressive. arrest and prosecute. This is regarding arrest and prosecution of First Amendment auditors and individuals who film on federal, state, local government property in violation of government policies. So here's what Mark is saying. And this just irks me to no end. There is somebody out there, Mark Stout, and some of these other frauditor, quote, frauditor exposure channels. There are people out there who want you to be kidnapped, arrested, and caged, and all your freedoms taken away and tied up in expensive litigation just for exercising the thing that we read at the top of the show, your First Amendment.
See, I'm going to go back and play that again. This is what he thinks of us.
Service, the Department of Justice, state and local police and sheriff's department, federal and state attorney general, and town and city hall, library, and other government administrative employees, and to all other interested parties. And then he says right here,
go back too far?
This is the coup de grace right here. And but wait, there's more. You would think that with the turning of each page, it couldn't get worse. It gets worse. The justifications get thicker. The tyranny becomes deeper.
All right. Before I go on, I need a vote in the chat, because I got to make a decision before noon. Just put a 1 in the chat for Christmas leftovers. Put a 2 in the chat for Chinese food. I have to decide what I'm going to do for lunch. 1 for Christmas leftovers, 2 for Chinese food.
The oppression gets more oppressive. Prosecute. This is regarding arrest and prosecution of First Amendment auditors and individuals who film on federal, state, local government property in violation of government policies. So here's what Mark is saying. And this just irks me to no end. There is somebody out there, Mark Stout, and some of these other frauditor, quote, frauditor exposure channels. There are people out there who want you to be kidnapped, arrested, and caged, and all your freedoms taken away and tied up in expensive litigation just for exercising the thing that we read at the top of the show, your First Amendment, the right to freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Bonkers. This is crazy. Not people who commit crimes, but individuals who film. Who did they harm, Mark? Who did they threaten to harm, Mark? Whose property did they damage, Mark? What?
It has to be property damage. It has to. See, this is why I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. And you guys are still kind of talking about it in the chat a little bit. Like, this is why I talk about, like, with the guns and stuff. For there to be a crime, there has to be a physical injury. There has to be a physical victim involved. Like, no, that's not right. You can tell me that that's the way it is all day, but like I always say, 2 + 2 = 4. You can argue it doesn't forever. Doesn't change the facts.
Wrong was committed. And it can be right to do wrong to somebody who didn't do wrong. Memorandum in support of limited public forums and in support of the arrest and prosecution of 1A frauditors. So what Mark, and I want you to see his face when I say this. This Mark guy wants you to be violated, wants your rights taken, wants you to be stripped from your family. If you're the breadwinner, he wants your family economically terrorized because you failed to comply with a policy from government that says, hey, this is a limited public forum. You have no First Amendment right here. And that's why I titled this, You Don't Have Rights, Limited Public Forum. Limited public forum means anti-First Amendment. Anytime you see, I don't care what the case law is. I don't care what the Supreme Court says. I don't even care if they make an amendment to the amendment. It is.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. I just have to point out that I didn't even think about it, but Zuzu Zyquin made a good point. I just said to vote for number 1 or number 2 for me to eat. Oh, that's great. Beautiful, 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 beautiful.
It is not right, period. And I'm only interested in doing what's right. And I would never ask any government functionary to intrude on Mark Stout's life and rights and strip him from his family as a breadwinner and economically terrorize those he loves. Would not do it. This shows you what kind of people we're dealing with, and it truly angers me. And it
all right, Worf, have you seen my dog? The leftovers will not go to waste.
truly angers me that he's actually going after Long Island Audit when you can look at video after video after video of Sean Paul Reyes and San Joaquin Valley Transparency and all these other auditors out there who are literally getting their rights infringed on. And when I watch these videos, I'm like,
no, they're not.
If he would do that, if that cop would do that to ex-bootlicker in the room or Monica Smith or SJD News, they would do it to me. And if they would do it to me, they would do it to my sons and daughters. And if they do it to my sons and daughters, they would do it to my grandsons. And
if you taught your sons and daughters how to act properly, that wouldn't happen to them. If you taught your sons and daughters how to act properly, it wouldn't happen to them. Teach them correctly. Don't teach them all your sovereign citizen bullshit, and you won't have to worry about them getting in trouble for it. Dumbass.
Granddaughter, they would do it to my mom. And we don't need people like that on the earth. Now, I'm not calling for let me make it clear. I am not calling for any kind of retaliation or violence when I say that. I don't want any harm to come to anybody. But I will not sit here and tolerate an intrusion on my rights or your rights, which translates into an intrusion on your life to the point where you won't be alive anymore.
Oh, drama queen.
There are people in jail right now that have been there for no freaking reason. They're there not because they committed a crime. They're there because they possessed a plant or a certain amount of a plant, or were enjoying the benefits of a plant.
The marijuana thing again.
Memorandum in support of limited public forums and in support of the arrest and prosecution of 1A frauditors. There are 4 different forms of public: traditional public, designated public, limited public, and non-public. We're only going to focus on traditionally public and limited public, he says. Individuals have a First Amendment right to film traditionally public places. Individuals do not have a First Amendment right
to shut the hell up. All right, listen. This guy is such an idiot. What's funny is that David's just a troll. I don't even pay attention to him half the time anymore. Sometimes he'll say something that's actually funny, but whatever. Anyway, listen. Here's the thing with this guy. Like I said, I've seen some of his videos in the past, but I didn't really discover him and really start paying attention to what he's doing until the other day, when he just somehow within the last week, he decided to just go on this huge anti-frauditor thing where, like I said, he posted 2 videos yesterday. This is his second. The first one was calling out frauditor troll, and now this one's calling out Mark Stout, and then the one he did last week was calling out Big Wes. He's just on a tear, going after everybody. And so it's been brought to my attention. So I watched him the other day, and he kept talking like he really truly does not understand our argument, and talking like he really truly wants to understand where we're coming from. So at first I thought, oh, well, maybe this guy just discovered this whole thing and doesn't know anything about it and actually wants to learn. But the more I watch him, the more I realize, no, he's a sovereign citizen idiot spouting stupidity and opinion as though it were fact. That's all. What a bonehead.
Film from or in limited public places. Guess who gets to define what limited public spaces are? That's right, your enemies in the government. Wow.
See? The government is our enemy. It's not the government. It's not the people who are the republic that we vote for. It's the enemy. They're the enemy. That means they have to be fought and destroyed. What's up, Judy Johansson?
Our enemies, we're supposed to protecting, to create a framework from which you can operate and exercise your rights, which literally means you have no rights at all. If somebody can limit or valve down your rights, you don't have them. If they can say, well, we determine the method, manner, and means, and we determine that this place is a limited public place or a limited public forum, you don't have rights here. Sorry, I'm not in China. No, I'm not sorry. I'm very glad I'm in America. As tyrannical as it is, it ain't North Korea. But we ain't in North Korea. And I'm not abiding by that. And injustice done to one man anywhere is injustice done to all men everywhere. And when injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty, our duty. It's our duty to resist it, in my opinion. Traditionally, public places occupy a special position in terms of First Amendment protection. Let's see. Let me look back at this. I don't see limited public forum anywhere in the First Amendment. They must have made that up. They must have made that term up. Oh, yeah, this is public, but it's limited. Oh, yeah, you have rights, but they're limited. Nonsense. It's utter nonsense. It's utter, let's just make stuff up on the fly. Let's pretend that the supreme law of the land is the Constitution of the United States, but in actuality, let's say it's case law. When Sean Paul Reyes just pointed out in the chat room, and I haven't looked into this. What's up, Chuck Bronson? Mandatory myocarditis, Blue Unicorn. I haven't looked into this, but apparently this isn't even case law. But even if I'm just going to take it at face value, what he says. I'm just going to say it is case law. So what? Case law does not infringe on my rights or your rights. Rights trump case law. Rights trump the Supreme Court. Rights trump the rogue tyrants of the Supreme Court. Rights trump the President of the United States. Rights trump executive orders. If they don't, then they're not rights. Stop calling them rights if they're not powerful enough to overcome those obstacles. Special position in terms of First Amendment protection. Traditionally, public places are places where people have always historically and customarily exercised and have always been expected and encouraged to exercise their constitutional rights. Those places are streets, sidewalks, plazas, and parks, but there's even limitations on sidewalks, as we'll see later on in this crazy Twilight Zone style document. Then they say traditional places are places where places which by long tradition.
Twilight Zone style document. A document explaining what the difference is between traditional public forum and limited public forum is a Twilight Zone style document? This guy's brain is a Twilight Zone episode. What's up, Uncle Artie's Bar and Grill of Stupidity? What's up, Judy Johansson? Yeah, this guy is so stupid. Like, the more I listen to him, the dumber he gets. It's funny. Like I said the other day when I first started covering him, I thought maybe there was something there, you know? But the more I listen to him, the more I realize there's nothing. He's just an idiot. That's all there is to it. He's dumb.
Tradition or by government fiat have been devoted. In other words, you got permission. It's either by tradition or by government fiat or edict, or they declared it to be so, or they put the amen on it. Oh, I'm only free on this public sidewalk because the government says I am. That's why I cannot stand. Hey, I'm allowed to be out here. I'm allowed to film in a library. I'm allowed to film in a post office. Let's stop saying that. I like what freaking media said at the video that I just played at the outset of this video, this live stream. I'm a free man. I'm free to film. I'm free to record. I'm free to be a journalist. I'm free to be the press. I'm not allowed. Allowed implies that somebody above you gave you permission as though you were a child, and you're not a child. And nobody's above you. And you're not above anybody, Mark. It just pisses you off, man. The Supreme Court provided an example of such a place. The court described that streets and parks have immemorially been held in trust for the use of public, and in time out of mind have been used for purposes of assembly, communication, thought between citizens.
And I want to give you guys an idea here of what we're talking about as far as, where is it? Let's see. Okay. Blue Vaughn was saying all of his dumb supporters will believe everything that comes out of his stupid mouth. Yes. And here's the best part. Let's take a look real quick at his chat room and see who's in there. Look at this. What do we got? We got SJD News, Katie Kidman, Chuck Bronson, Rogue Nation. Let's see, Lick the Whole Boot, ex bootlicker for Officer Mandatory Slave. Frickin' Media's in there. Katie Kidman again. Chuck Bronson. I mean, look at these names, man. Let's see. You Have Rights, Cops Have Duties is in there. Let's see. Keith Hutchins, Renee Barnes, for Officer Safety. Oh, there's Hezokuai. I know him. So the First Amendment doesn't mention your home, so I'm able to allow it in there because it's not in there specifically. Harvey Freebird's in there. Let's see. Frickin' again, Rogue again, Chuck Bronson. See, he's got so many. All of them. I'm just trying to find some more. I know Troll the Troll was in there. Let's see. Who else? Oh, he was just saying Long Island Audit was in his chat. Just everybody. It's a who's who of idiots. They all follow him. They love him. They think he's great because his stupidity just pours out of his pores. Play.
Citizens, you're not a citizen. You're a human being. You're a natural man, a man of the
You're
soil,
not a
just
citizen.
like everybody is.
Yeah, he's a sovereign
Discussing
citizen.
public questions.
It's like a prison
Check this out.
roster.
A traditionally public place is an open space, meeting hall, park, street corner, or other public thoroughfare. It says traditionally public places are part of the city's automotive, pedestrian, or bicyclist transportation grid. A traditionally public place is an easement for public passage intended to encourage pedestrian vehicular traffic.
Yes.
No fake. It's a public place.
Right.
And you cannot trespass eyes in a public place. Whatever your
boy.
eyes can see cannot be trespassed, not legitimately so, by a badged law enforcer. Now, they will do it, but it's not legitimate. It's actual criminal activity if you want to just take the First Amendment at face value. Oh,
Like
you're
your
free
name.
to do it, but this law enforcer says you can't. Well, guess who just committed a crime? Why not err on the side of freedom? The government does not create
He likes to
a
err on the
traditionally
side of
public
stupidity.
place by inaction or by permitting limited discourse, but only by intentionally opening a non-traditional forum for public discourse. Really? Oh, the government has that much power? As far as I know from the Bill of Rights, the government doesn't have any power and is heavily restricted.
I don't know how much more idiocy I could take. This guy's so stupid. It's so short-sighted of everything. Like, okay, so let's go back. And I was saying this earlier. When a building is built for a reason, and it is something that the general public gets engaged in. That's why I like to use the example of the post office, because that's kind of where this whole movement started, right? Like, the reason the post office was built, it's a building, it's not a public park. You don't go to a public park to do your mail. You go in a building, right? For the purpose of sending and receiving mail and doing mail business. You know, whatever, filling out your voter's registration card or whatever they do in your post office, right? That's what it's for. If it was just a public place, then it would be a park. It would be something that is just that. What's up, Eaton Low? Every time I see your name, I almost say it. Little Chihuahua, Big World, what's up? Yes, they are like a cult. These guys are, Oh, man. And this guy, I think, the fact that all of the frauditors love this guy, just, all right, take it easy, K-Far. Just, right, the particular purpose is for the general use of the general public. Yes, that's their particular use. Right? You want to go to the park and do whatever, as long as you're not, there's limits on what people can do no matter where you go. I mean, you can't go to a public park and just start strangling hookers there because it's a public place. Like, there have to be limits. If you don't like it, like I said, go live in the woods by yourself. Go off grid. Instead of talking to me about this nonsense.
That's what the purpose of the Bill of Rights is. It's not to restrict people, it's to restrict the government. It's not to handcuff the people, it's to bind the government down with the chains of the Constitution.
Oh, that's funny.
To use Ayn Rand and Jefferson's terminology.
Thank you, Eaton.
A traditionally public place will not be created in the face of clear evidence of a contrary intent. Okay, so they say streets, sidewalks, and then they say sidewalks, of course, are among the those areas of public property that traditionally have been held open to the public and are clearly within these areas of public property that may be considered generally without further inquiry to be traditionally public places. Oh, you have a First Amendment right there, the courts say. Or he says the courts say.
Of course.
However, you know what? The First Amendment doesn't come with ands, buts, and howevers. It just doesn't.
Boy.
It just says you got them. It's like the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right
Are you in a militia?
of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Yeah, I
Shall
know.
not be infringed. Background checks, that's an infringement. Gun safety regulations, that's an infringement.
Oh,
Gun
boy.
control, magazine limitation, magazine capacity limitation, that's an infringement. Any infringement, any barrier, I don't care if it's a paper-thin barrier, is an infringement. And it says shall not be infringed. So if anybody does infringe,
no rules.
We just got the spotlight turned on to the real criminal in this situation. We got an investigation. Oh, yeah, what's up? Well, this guy has rights because the Constitution says it, but this guy over here says he can take away rights, and he's got a long laundry list of justifications, and he pulled them out, and I examined them. Oh, yeah, what'd you conclude? I examined that rights are unalienable. They can't be taken, and they can't be given. And this guy's trying to do a little bit of taking with some justification, and that ain't going to work. That don't wash. That dog don't hunt. That guy, he's asleep and he ain't coming off the porch. But people think, oh, we have case law. We have the Supreme Court. Oh my God, we have all these crazy things going around. It's like they're trying to distract you with all this stuff when the simple little, the simple little logical.
I love the fact that all right. I love the fact that he keeps harping on the First Amendment. But if you ever actually read anything in the Constitution other than the Bill of Rights, like the actual Constitution itself, before any of the amendments were even passed, describes specifically and in detail how and why laws are made the way they're made. It explains it all in there. He loves to harp on the Constitution, but he will not accept that the Constitution expressly describes exactly how all of the things that he's saying that can't be done are being done specifically according to the Constitution. Well, these people are making rules and regulations, but the First Amendment says they can't. No, it doesn't. The Constitution specifically explains how to make rules and regulations, and then the amendments are regarding things that the rules and regulations they are making. This is why amendments can be changed. This is why slavery was legal and then it was made illegal. This is why all this, well, first of all, dude isn't mentioning amendments for a reason, we didn't have to amend slavery or anything, right? These guys don't care about principles, just money. Thank you very, very much for the super chat, Sly Tendencies. And yes, that's exactly what I was just saying. I use slavery as an example. You know, the prohibition of alcohol. You could use that as an example too. Like, there are things that happen and time passes and things change. And that's why the Constitution is such a beautiful document, because it can be amended. But he's like cherry picking from one of these guys. Say it ain't so. Cherry picking the Constitution to take out the parts that support your arguments and throw out the parts that don't. Oh, boy.
Nugget of truth is, no, you got rights. Ain't nobody taking away those rights as long as you haven't harmed, threatened to harm, or stolen somebody's stuff or damaged the property and didn't pay for it. However, they say, this guy says, and
let me go back to
however
that.
They say, this guy says, and property and didn't pay for those rights as long as you haven't harmed. No, you got rights. And ain't nobody taking away those rights as long as you haven't harmed, threatened to harm, or stolen somebody's stuff or damaged the property and didn't pay for it.
See, there it is. That's it. Right there. That's the base of their entire philosophy, is if you didn't physically harm someone or steal their stuff, then there's no law. Nothing else is illegal. Nothing else is wrong. This is why I always say, well, then by that mentality, and of course they would disagree and say that's different, but that's why their arguments never work under any scrutiny at all. I could, according to your own statements, your belief system, the only way a crime could possibly be committed if somebody is physically harmed or somebody steals something. So if I walk into your house and the door's not locked, so I didn't break in, and I just stand there in your house and I don't steal anything, nobody was hurt, nothing was stolen, so I'm not, you're not allowed to ask me to leave? You're not allowed to defend your property for me because I'm not hurting anyone? According to you and your logic, as long as I don't hurt you or steal from you, I could just crash in your house forever, and you have no legal right to ask me to leave. But that's private property. But you're saying that a crime has to be someone getting hurt or something getting stolen, period. If I'm not hurting you and I'm not stealing from you, then there's nothing you can do. If you're right, then there's nothing you can do. But of course, he's not right. He's wrong. But again, these guys never think anything through to their logical conclusion.
However, they say, this guy says, kinda, the Supreme Court explained that not every sidewalk is a traditionally public place. So after they see how they're already switching the rules on you, sidewalks are traditionally public places, and you have the First Amendment right because we allow you to. No, you can't allow me to. It's unalienable. You didn't get.
See, again, this guy says so much stupid stuff. If I really wanted to, I could pause every 2 seconds and break down every other thing he says. How can you not understand? Oh, thank you very much, Sly. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it very much. How can you not understand that when, okay, I'm building a building and I'm going to do business in my building. How are people going to get there? How are people going to get into my building? Are they going to trudge through the mud? No, I'm going to build a sidewalk. What the memo is saying is that sidewalks can be different if they're the kind of sidewalk I'm just talking about. Not the one that you use to walk up and down the street, but the one that I specifically built to give people access to my business. Just like the sidewalk that leads to your home. You could say, oh, well, that's public. But if I'm sitting on your front porch, just chilling, So what? You have no right to ask me to leave? There are sidewalks. This is what he's talking about, but of course he's not going to accept it. There are sidewalks that are built that are not just the regular sidewalks. They're there so that people can physically access your building without having to trudge through the dirt and the mud to get there. What's up, Nils? Did I miss anything? Nah. Yeah, nah. Same old nonsense. This idiot is being stupid and we're making fun of him for it.
Give it. You can't take it away. However, they say not every sidewalk is a traditionally public place simply by virtue of the fact that it fixed the physical description of a sidewalk. Rather, the location and purpose of a publicly owned sidewalk is critical in determining whether such a sidewalk constitutes a traditionally public place. So you see what they're already doing? You got
being logical.
There's two kinds. They're just focusing of the four. They're focusing on traditionally public place and a limited public forum.
Right.
Now let's talk about the traditionally public place. You got a First Amendment right. However, there are traditionally public places where you don't have the right. And we're not even talking about limited public places right now. We're talking about in the scope of traditional public places. So now they're already trying to reach in past the veil of the traditionally public place and put some limitations on it. What psychopathy is this? I don't understand it. Put me on the psychiatrist couch because I think I'm going crazy.
You already are crazy, you idiot. So, okay. Once again, it's not the camera, it's the idiot behind it, right? It's the same thing with the argument he's making now. What do you think would happen if I walked into a public park because I have the First Amendment, absolute First Amendment right to say whatever I want? Fine. Cool. I'm not saying you don't. But what do you think is going to happen if I go to a park and I start walking up to all the parents I see sitting there watching their kids play and walking up to them and going, hey, just wanted to let you know, man, your 5-year-old daughter, she's looking real nice in that tight skirt, man. I'd really like to take her home and give her some of that, you know what I'm talking about, homie? Like, that's freedom of speech. I could just talk like that because it's a public park. And what do you think those people aren't going to freaking beat the hell out of me? You think those people are going to get scared or freaked out? Time, place, and manner, right? This guy just wants everything to be allowed and anyone can do anything, anywhere, and the cops can't do it. Well, he doesn't want cops. He doesn't want government. He's an anarchist. He's a sovereign citizen. He's an idiot.
Publicly owned or operated property does not become a traditional public place simply because members of the public are permitted to come and go at will, says Greer versus Spock. Says, although whether the property has been generally open to the public is a factor to consider in determining whether the government has opened its property to the use of the people.
What's up?
The
Baggett,
government can open or close property for use of the people. I didn't know they had that kind of power.
Yeah,
it is not determinative of the question. There's little doubt that in some circumstances, the government may ban the entry onto the public property that is not a traditionally public place of all persons except those who have legitimate business purposes. So they're going to determine an illegitimate entity is going to determine whether you legitimately have access to what otherwise would be known as a traditionally public place.
See, this is what I'm talking about. The way they talk, they use words and definitions that everyone and their fans especially do. Everyone's supposed to just accept as fact, right? He cannot say because the government says, no, he goes, an illegitimate entity says that an illegitimate thing, like, ugh. He paints a picture of opinion and states it as fact. The guy has no idea what he's talking about. Like I said, the other day, just like 2 days ago, was the first time I really paid attention to what this guy's saying. And at first I thought he was trying to learn something, but now I realize he's just an idiot. And he just spouts stupid word salad. And his entire fan base is all the frauditors. They love him. He's like the new guru. It's insane how dumb this guy is. And the more he talks, the stupider he sounds.
Do you see how convoluted this is?
Do you see how stupid you
Do
are?
you see how it's trying to just take your freedoms and arrest you? Do you see how it's not only not trying to err on the side of freedom, it's trying to err on the side of tyranny?
Oh, yeah.
So bogus. It's so obviously bogus.
You're obviously bogus.
I'm going to change my highlight pen right here. The government, no less than check this out. They conflate government with the private sector. The government is government, private is private. Public is public, and private is private, and never the twain shall meet.
Ooh.
It says the government, no less than a private owner of property, has the power to preserve the property under its control for the use to which it is lawfully dedicated. What about constitutionally dedicated? What about that? I'm going to do the next one in pink here because you really got to be weak-minded. You really got to be a coward to buy into this stuff. You really got to demean yourself. You got to be so demoralized and dehumanized that you're actually going to pick this up and go, I think I will be being a bootlicker ain't such a bad idea. My tongue's been kind of lonely and it needs to lick some more mud off of that government boot. Public.
That's what we're thinking. That's what's going on. Yeah, exactly. That's why I decided to call you guys out on your stupidity and your lies, because boy, oh boy, I sure do like licking boots. Like, does he really truly believe this? If he does, he's dumber than I thought. Like, how stupid can you possibly be?
Public owned or operated property is not transformed into traditionally public property merely because the public is permitted, now bad word, to freely enter and leave at practically all times, and the public is admitted during specific hours.
Yeah.
On streets and sidewalk, the right of the state to limit activity are sharply circumscribed. Well, I would say that it wasn't even circumscribed in the First Amendment. I would say that it's eliminated altogether. The government can't tell you that you don't have the right to film in public, according to the First Amendment. I mean, I didn't write the First Amendment, guys. Don't be mad at me if you want tyranny. But Brian, I want tyranny. Oh, foiled again. I just want tyranny.
What are you talking about, you idiot, you idiot, you idiot, you idiot, you idiot, you idiot, you idiot? What are you saying, you idiot? How stupid can you be? Like, really? Every single person in this chat and every single creator out there that does anti-sovereign citizen and anti-frauditor stuff are just sitting here going, we want tyranny, we want tyranny, let's go tyranny. Like, you serious? Like I said, on one hand, I wish I could actually sit and talk with this idiot and explain to him why he's wrong. But on the other hand, I know he won't listen, and I know that he's too stupid to understand anything I'd say to him anyway.
I want my sons and daughters to fear the land of the free, home of the brave. Matter of fact, I don't want this to be the land of the free, home of the brave anymore. I want it to be the land of the free, home of the slave. And I want the enslavement to become more oppressive. And now I want the extortion to become more expensive.
See, extortion, see?
The issue in Missumacy, what is it? Missumacy wasn't so much whether or not Missumacy had the right to film from the plaza in question, but whether or not the government could ban individuals from filming federal buildings. And he was doing it, by the way, from a public sidewalk. So they're saying it's not so much that he's got the right to film, but whether the government can ban him from filming. Guys, if somebody can ban you from filming, then they obviously don't believe that you have the right to film. And the end result is the exact same in both situations. It's like half a dozen in one, 6 in the other.
And yet he keeps talking about the specific wording of the First Amendment and literally taking those specific words and saying, well, the First Amendment didn't say anything about public versus private. Well, the First Amendment didn't say anything about cameras either. Well, cameras weren't invented. Right. It doesn't specifically address every single possible detail, which is why we have case law. But he doesn't think about that if it doesn't go with his narrative. Rogue Nation came here just in time to hear me cherry pick how stupid this idiot is. Because Rogue was in the chat yesterday too. So he heard the stupidity too. So he should know that this guy's just a moron.
They're saying the same thing. You don't have to film is the same as we're banning you from filming. It's not that you didn't have the right to film. You had the right, but the government could limit the right. Well, if a government can limit a right, then you don't have a right. Hey, meathead, you dead from the neck up, meathead.
You're describing yourself.
Simon Glick filmed the police officers in the Boston Common, the oldest city park in the United States. And it says, Glick was arrested by the local police for wiretapping. Man, they'll just come up with anything. The court determined that government officials, including the police, could not ban individuals from filming government officials in traditionally public places. And then here's his conclusion on the traditionally public spaces aspect of this. If there's one thing to remember, it's that the terms public and traditionally public are interchangeable terms. That's not true, because he already said what's otherwise considered traditionally public is open to the interpretation of the government to one day make it limited government. Oh, I know that looked like a sidewalk. I know it looks like a traditionally public place. I know it looks like you have freedom of press to operate in that little zone right there, but we reserve for ourselves the arbitrary right to limit that rights right now. So now
it's not arbitrary. You're an idiot. You're making stuff up. You're spouting off opinions as facts again.
Now it's effectively a First Amendment free zone. And nothing could be more dangerous than a rights-free zone. Namely, the Second Amendment. When you have a constitution-free gun-free zone, you have a criminals are empowered because they don't follow laws. They don't care what the authorities say. They're a man unto themselves. It's a criminal empowerment, victim creation, because the law abiders, and it's no virtue to be a law abider. If you're actually going to disarm yourself to enter a constitution-free zone, you got to know that you're in a very dangerous situation. And then I call it a fish in a barrel zone. So it's a criminal empowerment, victim creation, fish in a barrel, rights-free zone. And if you put yourself in that position, you're on your own. If you don't,
your channel is a brain-free zone.
Empower yourself and make sure that you follow the natural right precept of the Second Amendment to keep and bear arms for you, for yourself, for your family. I can't think of a better way to empower yourself than to grab a firearm, learn how to use it, and carry it with you wherever you go. When courts refer to public, they're referring to traditionally public. The terms public and limited public are not interchangeable, he says, which, by the way, you don't see public and limited public anywhere in the First Amendment, do you? Or maybe I'm the one who flew over the cuckoo's nest.
And you don't see anything about cameras in there either, do you, idiot?
And I hate to beat a dead horse about this, but every page you turn, there's more and more layers of psychopathy, and I can't even stand it.
You're talking about yourself again.
About this.
You're describing yourself again.
When the courts refer to public, they are not referring to limited public. By default, the term public means traditionally public, streets, sidewalks, plazas, and parks. But if you're on a particular kind of sidewalk, we can limit that to limited public forum. Every single case that has ever established or furthered the First Amendment right to film government officials involved an individual filming from a traditionally public place, not from a limited public place. You made that up. You freaking made that up. It's just
everything you say is made up.
Yeah, exactly. Human beings made it up. You can also make the argument, well, somebody made up the First Amendment. Yep, that's true. People did make up the First Amendment, but isn't it in accordance with the golden rule? Can we ask ourselves a couple of introspective questions? Can we ask ourselves, okay, let's see. Do I have the right to speak unhindered as long as I'm not violating somebody's rights in doing it? As long as I'm not putting somebody else's in danger doing it? As long as I'm not using my speech to harm or threaten to harm or infringe on anybody else's rights? Yeah, you absolutely do. How about the freedom of the press? How about freedom of religion? How about to peaceably assemble? Yeah, you have those rights. They're unalienable rights. Nobody gave them to you. And this, you don't have them because the First Amendment articulated and codified it. It exists, and they recognized it, and they wrote down the rights that you already have because it's unalienable. It's just true. Do you have the right to limit somebody else's speech? No, you don't. Do you have the right to limit somebody filming somebody else in a public space?
Okay, hold on a second. Wait, I want to get caught up with the chat here real quick, because I see something. What's he going? What was this in response to? To Uncle Artie. He was trying to make a point, but of course you don't get points. None of these guys understand points. When you try to make a point, they just don't get it. Like nothing logical. See, I've come to the realization that anyone who's an auditor and anyone who supports auditors is physically incapable of rational thought. They can't think. They just hear all this nonsense and just accept it as fact. And say, oh, yeah, cool, yeah. They don't know what the hell's going on, and they can't think. You try to talk to them, and they don't want to hear it because it actually makes their brain their neurons start to fire, and they've never had that happen before. They don't know how to handle it.
You have the right to violate it if you're out in public. You have the right to feel that way, but it doesn't make it so. Can you expect privacy when you go out into public? That's nonsense. It's like expecting to stay dry when you jump in the pool. If you expect to go outside of your house into public and remain private and remain secure, and unless you obscure your face or something like that, or hide your gait, as you're walking down the road, you are being recorded by body cams, by dash cams, rear and front facing, by street surveillance equipment, by building surveillance equipment, private and public. If you expect privacy when you're out in public, you're a loon.
All right. Now, the whole privacy in public argument, which we've been over 100 times, and we know, no, Rogue, we can explain our thought process. The problem is when we explain our thought processes, you guys just automatically don't accept it. I could explain the truth to you all day, and you'll say, but that's not true. Well, why not? Well, because I don't accept it as truth. Like I always say, you can argue that 2 + 2 isn't 4, but if I tell you 2 + 2 is 4, you can't say, see, you can't prove anything. Okay, here, let me take 2 things and take 2 more things and then count them, and there will be 4 things. Nope, that's not true. I just showed you it's true. It's not that we can't articulate our argument. It's that you won't listen. No matter what we say, you won't listen. So what did this idiot just say? Because I wanted to comment about it, but then I was looking at my chat and it distracted me. Hold on, let me go back.
Expect surveillance equipment by building surveillance equipment, private and public.
Oh, right. No expectation of privacy in public. Okay. So what do these guys always say? Rogue Nation's in here. You answer this question, Rogue. Okay. So here's what I want to say about that. I came up with this the other day. I wrote it down, and this is perfect timing for me to bring it up. Your story, the story of the auditors in general, the auditors in general, is if you don't want to be filmed, if you want to maintain your privacy, you will stay home. You don't want to be filmed in public? Don't go out in public. Well, here's my retort to that. You don't want to show the cops your ID? Don't leave your house. Don't audit. Problem solved. You don't want to be filmed out in public? Don't leave your house. You don't want to get ID'd by the cops? Don't audit. How about that? What's the difference?
If you expect, look, you're a loon. You're a freaking loon.
You're a freaking
And
loon.
if you're the government and you're limiting free speech and freedom of the press and freedom of religion and right to assemble and all the other things that the First Amendment outlines, then you're a loon too. And you're especially a loon because you're asking the government to get more powerful against even you, Mark Stout. A traditional public place, parks and sidewalks, enjoys a much higher level of protection than limited public place. Sheets versus City of Punta Gorda. It's like Sheets is above the First Amendment. So here's the limited public. Here's what he says. I'll try to go over this real quick. The government, like any private landowner, no, the government's not like a private landowner, may preserve the property under its control, and that's what government's all about. Governo mentis, to control the mind or mind control, to preserve its property under its control for the use to which it is lawfully dedicated.
Right.
Likewise, a government workplace, like any place of employment, a government workplace is not like other places of private employment. There's so many holes in this whole thing. We could literally spend a week on this one paper. There's so much to talk about.
There's so many holes in your brain.
It's amazing. People will write this and like, oh, this can't be challenged. This can't be challenged. Nobody will say anything else. This is ironclad. Oh, this is foolproof. This is sealed. No, nobody can. There's no way there's any kind of argument against it. It's so illogical
the court system
in its suppositions, and it's so easy to poke holes into it. It's amazing anybody's even taking this seriously.
It's amazing that anyone takes
the
you
business
seriously.
Of the employer. Well, guess who your employer is? Government. Guess who it is? It's the people you're shaking down 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you're going to limit. They are
again. There you go. He keeps doing that. He keeps doing that all the time. He doesn't say anything about facts or reality. He says, see, they're just shaking you down all the time. Like I got the cops on me right now saying, give me money, you son of a bitch, give me your money. Where is he? Where's the cop? Where's the shakedown? What are you talking about? Because people who break the law get caught and then they have to pay fines? Don't break the law. It's not that hard.
You're going to become more powerful and limit right of the press. Yeah, I don't think so. Where the government acts in a proprietary capacity, facilitate the conduct of its internal business, there's a limited public space. And then it says right here, this is the same paper. When the government establishes a limited public place, the government is not required and does not allow. Thank you, Daddy Government. Oh, thank you, Daddy, for giving me permission to do things that I have a right to do anyway. Does not allow persons to engage in every type of speech and conduct. The government may be justified in reserving its limited public space for certain groups. As a general matter, the government is permitted to exercise. Who does the permitting? Oh, themselves. We'll investigate ourselves and we'll get back to you and we'll let you know if we did anything wrong. We'll investigate ourselves and we'll find out if we violated.
It's called separation of powers. Read the Constitution. You keep talking about that. You obviously have no idea what it says.
You're right. Oh, guess what? We investigated ourselves. Nope, we didn't violate your rights because we are the law. We write the law. We enforce the law. And if you want to go and fight against the law, well, we own the courts too. It's the corporate structure.
How did slavery get overturned? If what you're saying is correct, how did the Civil Rights Act get passed? If what you're saying is true, then how did any of the laws that have been changed get changed? How come alcohol's legal again? It's like they decide what they want to do, and as long as it goes, what's up, Archangel 3? And as long as it goes against your rights, they're going to do it. No. He keeps quoting the Constitution, and yet whenever he talks about how the judicial system works, which is specifically laid out in the Constitution, now all of a sudden none of the Constitution matters? Only that one amendment matters. That's it. Nothing else. 1 and 2. Those are the only ones that he cares about. Everything else the Constitution says is a bunch of crap. But First and Second Amendment, now that's important. Our God-given right to carry a gun. And I'm not trying to go into the whole like gun laws thing, but God doesn't even know what a gun is. Like, how's that a God-given right? The point is, everything he says, it breaks down to where he cherry picks the stuff that he wants to support his narrative, and anything else that's in the Constitution he ignores.
You understand? Can you get a little corporate structure with that? Of course you can. As a general matter, the government is permitted to exercise control over the public's use of government-owned property. In other words, the government can control you. The government can tell you where you can go and where you can film. And the degree of control permitted depends upon the nature of the property and the restrictions. And then,
again, that goes back to my question. So who can tell me I can't go to your house? Well, that's my property. So you, as a free human, have control over me as a free human and where I can go? Because you say it's your property? What if I disagree? What gives you the right to do it? Well, it's my property. But I thought I was a free human, and no other human has any control over any other free human. So how could you tell me not to go into your house? I'm a free human. Free humans can do whatever they want. Their arguments never stand up to any level of scrutiny at all. They just completely fall apart.
he says, in hypocritical fashion, in inconsistent fashion, the government has the right to exercise control over the access to the workplace in order to avoid interruptions to the performance of the duties of its employees. How does that make any sense? Here, when somebody's standing there like this. Oh, let's see. Let's do this right here.
Oh, this is my favorite part. He does this twice. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Right? He's about to paint this picture that proves that either he's a disingenuous douche canoe, which is what I believe, or he literally just has no idea what the hell he's talking about. Because he's going to say, this is what he's about to do. You watch. He's about to say that this is an audit. That's not an audit. This guy apparently has never actually watched an audit video before. This is not an audit. He obviously doesn't watch audit videos. So what is an audit? Screw you, you're trying to violate my rights. How dare you talk to me? You're my servant. You bend over and do what I say because I said it, because you're my servant and I'm your master, and you do what the master says, and you bend over and do what I tell you to do because I told you to do it. So there, you're failing the audit. I'm going to get you fired. Yeah. It's not this. Disingenuous douche canoe.
Just being super quiet.
Yeah, no auditor does.
Surveilling.
Yeah, that's not what happens.
One extra camera, like the 25 cameras that are already in this post
what happens.
office,
They're
or
different.
in this library, or in this government building,
completely
or
different.
in the state house.
Completely different.
How am I interrupting your performance because I'm exercising a right?
If that was what they did, you wouldn't be, but that's not what they do.
Right.
Listen, you know what? Now that he mentioned that I was thinking about this yesterday. I think I said it, but I don't think I got a response. Is Mr. George still here? Debos Nation, what's up? Rogue Nation, is he still in the chat, or did one of you guys not kick him, boot him? I don't know. Because I wanted to ask him something about this. Let's see.
Into an interruption that's equated to criminal, they will lay hands on you for just doing this with your mouth shut.
Yeah, they don't do that with their mouth shut.
You can't interrupt somebody if you're not interrupting.
Not what they do. You're a liar.
The almost unfettered access of a traditionally public place would be incompatible with the dictates of a limited public place. Limited public places do not form part of the automotive, bicycle, or pedestrian transportation grid. What the frick? What the frick? Vehicles and pedestrians do not generally use limited public places as a thoroughway to another destination. Rather, limited public places function simply to permit.
All right, Rogue. Here's what I wanted to ask you. All right. If you, in fact, I said this earlier when I first started, but you weren't here. If you really wanted to, and this isn't really a question, it's more of a statement, but just trying to educate you, okay? If you're actually willing to learn, maybe you'll learn something. You start doing this, I'll support you, okay? If you really, truly, deep in your heart were concerned in doing what you say you want to do, the big argument that I always hear from all of you guys is, well, there's cameras in the building already anyway. And if I wanted to, I could FOIA those cameras. So why don't you just start doing that? If you want to see how the employees actually treat the normal customers, don't go in there with the camera. FOIA all the cameras of all the buildings you want to audit. Then you can actually watch the actual interactions with people without idiots shoving their cameras in their faces and see how these people behave. And if they are doing something wrong, then you release that. That's what you're saying you're doing. But by going in there and the thing that you don't understand is you guys always say that, well, their reaction is what, we're trying to film how they treat people. But the way they treat people is different when you're in there purposely, intentionally trying to do this. The way you do it. And what happened yesterday, Rogue, when I showed your pass on my channel? I said, look at that. He didn't act like a douche canoe, and they didn't treat him like a douche canoe. Oh, wait a minute. Are you saying that it's not legal to FOIA request the security footage? I thought, are you saying that that's not legal, that you can't FOIA request that stuff? Well, I'll keep doing what's legal. Putting in a FOIA request is legal. So I don't get it. Doesn't make sense. But nothing any of these guys say makes sense. So what was I expecting? I'm sorry.
Ingress and egress. The government may exclude for any reason from a limited public space. Why did you do that, officer? Because I felt like it. There's my reason. Why did you do that, officer? Because I felt like you were disobeying our policy. That's my reason. He literally said that. They can do it for any reason. Thus, in a limited public place, government is free. Government is free, but you're not, to impose a blanket exclusion on certain types of speech in Congress. Let's see. Let's go. I'm not seeing. Let's see. Blanket exclusion. I don't see that in the first. Let's see. It says abridging the freedom of speech. You can't abridge the freedom of speech. I don't see a blanket exclusion there.
There he goes again, making the argument that the First Amendment doesn't specifically say that. Well, it also doesn't specifically say cameras. Well, cameras weren't invented yet. Yeah, but he's making the argument that that doesn't count because it doesn't specifically say those words in the first. Well, then cameras don't count because it doesn't specifically say cameras in there either. See how this never, ever adds up?
Maybe Mark, if you're watching, or some of your auditor channels, maybe you can show me where that's.
Every time we try to, you ignore me.
I don't see it. I thought that was the supreme law of the land. And check this out. Discrimination may be permissible if it preserves the purpose of that limited. I can, if I feel like you have, if I feel like I have to preserve the purpose of a limited public place, then I reserve for myself the right to discriminate against you and deprive you of your rights. Even though I didn't legitimately give them to you, or nor can I legitimately take them away.
So what about my right to sleep on your couch? How about that? I say this over and over and over. And I'll say it again now that we got a couple idiots in the chat. Maybe they can answer this for me, right? If I walk into your house, I don't break in because the door wasn't locked. Maybe I followed you in, right? And I'm not stealing. I didn't break the law by walking in there. I'm not stealing anything. So you should not be legally allowed to ask me to leave because I didn't commit a crime. You can't be trespassed unless you commit a crime first, right? Well, if I didn't break in and I didn't steal you, what crime did I commit? Well, you trespassed. Boom! Exactly. The trespass itself is the crime.
That Andrew is the case about video recording inside government building. Get this. The city has a municipal ordinance prohibiting video and sound recording without the consent of those being recorded. You don't have an expectation of privacy in public government employees who get a paycheck by stealing from me. Think about it. Think about how pompous this is. This Sheets versus City of Punta Gorda is a case about video recording inside a government building, a public building. The city has a municipal ordinance prohibiting video and sound recording without the consent of those being recorded. So they're saying consent in a public place trumps the First Amendment.
No,
they're saying arbitrary edicts trump the First Amendment.
That's not what it says.
I don't buy that.
You just read it. It didn't say any of those things.
Not on board with that. Once inside, I'll just read the rest of this because it is kind of an interesting story. Punta Gorda, this prohibition applies to City Hall and the City Hall Annex to test the order.
I just had a revelation. This guy, after listening to him for 3 days now, he finally got into my brain. It made me understand the truth of how they think. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to explain to you the way the world works, the way that these people think. Right now, I'm sitting on a horrible, evil, tyrannical wooden device that was specifically designed for human beings by the evil Illuminati, alien, monster, lizard people to destroy our will to stand instead of sit. How dare they force me into the seated position with the tyrannical chairs? Oh, no. They're forcing me to do this. Snap out of it. Thank you, Jimbo. I will. Flat earthing. Yeah. Where was okay, so again, somebody said something about where's that? I think it was Rogue. Yeah, okay. See, this comment right here by Rogue Nation is a perfect example of what I'm talking about the fact that their neurons in their brains don't function. Is that your logic? You think you could just walk into someone's house? If you would have actually listened to what I said, if your brain actually had the capacity for rational thought, you would understand what I was saying. But instead, I have to hold your hand like a baby and explain it to you one tiny little piece at a time. The frauditor side, the sovereign citizens side argument against trespass is that you cannot be trespassed unless there's some other crime committed to cause the trespass. Crime can only be if you physically hurt someone or steal something. So if I walk in by that rationale, by your rationale, not mine, not my rationale, by your rationale, if I walk into your house and I didn't break in, I didn't commit a crime, you cannot ask me to leave. Because trespassing itself isn't a crime. You have to commit a crime to cause the trespass to happen. And the only way to commit a crime is to physically hurt someone or to steal something. I'm not hurting you by sitting in your house. And if I'm not stealing from you, if I'm just sitting there, then by your rationale, you can't ask me to leave. And there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. And I can just sit there all I want. As long as I don't hurt anybody and I don't steal anything, there's no crime committed. If there's no crime committed, there's no trespass. Well, that's what I'm saying. It would have to be if I didn't break in. You're stealing space? Oh, so then you're stealing space when you are being trespassed. If that's your argument, then they can trespass you for stealing space when you walk into their building and they ask you to leave. It's the same thing. You're stealing space in the courthouse. You're stealing space in the post office. An actual customer. And that's another thing. Always talking about how these servants aren't providing good customer service. You're not a customer. You're an idiot with a camera. You didn't come there to engage in any kind of commercial activity. You came there to film. You're not a customer. You're an idiot with the camera. They steal my attention away. Yeah, that's true. But it's your space according to who? Who says it's your space? Who says it's your space, David? You? Well, I don't agree with you. These guys, all they care about is whether I don't agree with the cops. I don't agree with the judges. I don't agree with you. How about that? Just because you say it's your house doesn't mean it is. Just because you say it's yours, you can own space. I thought I was a free human. I thought no human could tell another free human what to do. I'm a free human. You have no power over me. Who are you to say it's your space? I'm a free human too. I can take up any space I want. That space was given to me by God, not by you. It's not up to you where I stand. If I choose to stand in your house, that's not up to you. You have no right to tell me where to stand and where not to stand. It certainly isn't the employee space. Yeah, it is their workspace. That's the thing that I don't get too. You know, like I have a job. I work somewhere. I do my job every day. I belong there because I work there. My customers belong there because they're engaged in the activity that the building was designed for. The building was not designed for you to film. And again, Rogue likes to use the example of the video I showed of his yesterday. Well, they didn't bother me there. Well, you didn't act like a douche canoe there. So all you're doing is actually proving my point. If you guys don't act like jerks, you won't be treated like jerks. You didn't act like a jerk. They didn't treat you like a jerk. Thank you for proving me right. Sorry to hear about your hand, Leland. Our employees subhuman? No, Mark, you don't understand. They're not subhuman, they're servants. They're slaves to anyone who owns a camera. Didn't you know that? They're not even subhuman. They're not human beings at all. They're public servants. They're slaves. They're property. owned by the taxpayers. See, this is what you have to understand. Anyone who works a job, I mean, in the old days, it was, people who work for the public and not people in the private sector. But now that auditors love to audit just random people on the street. It's anyone who has a job is a slave and must bow down and lick the boots and follow the directives and the commands of anyone who's going like this and shouting directives and commands at you. And if you don't, then you fail the audit. And you deserve to be pepper sprayed. No, I'm not loitering. I'm filming. Again, by that mentality, then loitering needs to be made perfectly legal. Because if I want to loiter somewhere, all I got to do is go. And now I'm allowed because I'm going like this. And they can't tell me to leave because I'm going like this. Always take advice from homeless, jobless idiots. Yeah, the cop who asked for a raise was great. I'm your boss. Well, then give me a raise. How about that? Chase librarians around a library. Yeah, that's Denver Metro Audits. He loves to harass librarians and stuff. Yeah, it's interesting when I watch, people like this who, and again, it's the fact that here's the deal, has so many, like I said, you look at his chat during his live streams and it's like a who's who of morons. It's amazing how they all seem to know who this guy is and follow him, and they believe every stupid, ridiculous, nonsensical, sovereign citizen, conspiratorial garbage that comes out of his mouth, like it's biblical fact, or not biblical fact, but you know what I mean. Robert Riley, what's up? Frauditors use "can I help you" as a reason to start it. Yes, exactly. Like, "may I help you" is a violation of my rights. How dare you say that to me? You rude, horrible, evil, tyrannical servant. Your job isn't to say, "may I help you"? Your job is to sit there and do what I say when I say it because I said it. That's your job. And I know your job better than you do because your job is to do what I say. That's your job. So I'm telling you, do this. That's it. And that's the funny thing. I love it when frauditors compare people to Nazis, because who's acting like tyrants? Gospel truth. Thank you, Leland. That was what I meant. Not Bible truth, gospel truth. It's the expression. Yes, thank you. But yeah, that's exactly right. No matter what you say or do, it's not going to work. If you say, "may I help you," you're being a tyrant. If you don't say anything, you're ignoring them. And how dare you ignore them? In other words, if the world worked the way frauditors wanted it to work, what would happen is, if there was a big line of people in the post office and I didn't want to wait in line, I'd go like this. All the other customers would immediately drop to the floor and wait for me to walk forward. And all the people who work there would run to the window and do what I told them to do immediately and get it done, because I'm going like this. Give me what I want and give it to me now, because I'm filming and you must. You're my servant. You're my slave. Bow down before me, because I can go like this. Therefore, I deserve more than everyone else in the world. I have the rights. You have none. The First Amendment applies to me, but not anyone else. You guys convinced me to go out and film this week. Good luck. Hopefully you get arrested. That'd be great. Let's see. Your product is misery. Yeah, these guys are all about spreading hate. That's what they're about. They're about hate. They're about lies. And they're about taking away our rights. Like Rogue. He got an ordinance passed that limits our rights. Thanks a lot, Rogue. Thanks for going out there and flexing your freedoms to get our rights limited. Thanks, pal. Good job. Keep doing it. Keep getting more of our rights taken away from us by going out there and doing your quote unquote audits. Silly frauditor. Hope you get arrested, Rogue. I'll donate a quarter to bail you out. You're not using foul language, should I? Oh, man. Here's what we'll do. Rogue Nation could go out and get arrested. And if anyone wants to donate money to his bail, send it to me on PayPal. I'll take care of it. Don't worry. I'm not saying I'll bail him out, but I'll take care of it. Making comments about someone's appearance. Who, what, where, when, why? Hold on. Ooh, Grandma Wolf is going to take care of you. She's got some chicken heads she needs to cut off anyway, so. Let's see. We'll be sure he gets it. Rogue is busy wearing a dunce cap right now. Heads up, Rogue. You'll get your ass kicked not by the cops. The cops will leave when we show up. Oh, my goodness. Ass Cactus. That's right. Gamer88, what's up? Good to see you. Yeah. Well, what you got to do, Grandma, is you got to go out back where they got the little birds flying around and grab one. Never mind. I read the Grand Grimoire. I actually know a little bit too much about that kind of stuff than I probably should. Let's see. Oh, no. Yeah, I'm not into that. Let's not. No, I don't like that. I don't like that. Let's see. I'll get irritated. No, do no harm. I'll win irritated. Okay, yeah. Howdy, Robert. No problem with that, I guess. I just said no. I don't like that. I just said that. It happened here and Rogue was booted. Someone called Rogue's mom a whore and then he got booted for someone calling his mom a whore? I'll have to go back and look at the chat and see what happened. I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, but I mean, insulting somebody's family, like I don't like that. That's not cool. Let's see. Frauditors are inadvertently spreading awareness about limited public forums. Yep. There's no film in your camera. Making comments about someone's appearance. See, I don't see it. What did I miss? Let's see. Trips to Boston. Children resort to name calling. The product is misery. Yeah, I don't see anything with anyone making fun of his mom. I don't know. Anyway, they call public servants in the USA tyrants when they would be kicked out in every other country. Yeah. See, that's the thing. And I've said this a bunch of times before is that I've said this a bunch of times before, is that the whole idea of what they do and how they do it and all this stuff and how it's supposed to be like, oh, helping our freedoms, blah, blah, blah. You got to flex your freedoms or you'll lose them and this and that. Where are, like, the whole psychology behind it seems so nonsensical to me, because it's like no one that I've ever met in my entire life has ever said, hey, guys, I got an idea. Let's go take some footage inside the post office today. And then when we got there, they said, no filming in the post office. Like, why would anybody even think of that? Like, how has it become such this big, huge movement by the First Amendment auditing community to fight for their rights to do things that nobody wants to do? Why is it such a big deal to fight for something that nobody cares about? Nobody cares about filming in libraries. Nobody cares about filming in post offices. Nobody cares about filming a bunch of truck drivers at a truck stop or a bunch of people eating their dinner. Because nobody does that. It's to highlight how rumors become facts. Thomas Jefferson will be rolling in his grave. Yeah. Which one? Which one? I'm still getting all discombobulated. You're saying the worst frauditor's name called to mean and dehumanize general people just to get the cops called? Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. That's the point. The cops are no longer supposed to engage with them, so they have to give people a hard time so that the people will call the cops, so then the cops will be forced to engage. They have no choice because they have to answer the call. Someone cares. Lots of people watch the videos. Yeah, that's a big part of the problem. If this movement wasn't growing so much, so fast, I'd probably still just be talking about sovereign citizens, and that's about it. But then this new twisted style of sovereign citizens slowly started to build. And as more people found out that, wait a minute, hold on a second, I could go up and get a job and be a decent human and take care of my family, or I could be an asshole and film it and get paid. And that's what happened. That's how it spread. That's how it became so big. People see these videos online and say, oh, wait a minute. All I have to do is film myself being a jerk and people will pay me? Cool, that's so easy. There's no work involved. You could live stream or just upload the footage without even editing it. No work involved at all. No effort involved at all. All you got to do is act like a jerk. And if you already are a jerk, then that doesn't take any effort at all either. You just film yourself being yourself. That's why when people always say, oh, well, you guys complain about money, but you're monetized. No. Once again, I don't care if anyone on YouTube makes money off of their videos. That doesn't bother me. My point is, when you're using this big, super, civil rights movement, comparing the cops to Nazis and comparing yourself to Rosa Parks and all this, as an excuse to get paid for being a jerk while going like this. It's BS. It's bull. It's false advertising. It's a false bill of sale. You're trying to sell us on the idea that you're a freedom fighter when really you're just a jerk who's filming yourself being a jerk and posting it on the internet. That's it. Forrest Gump became a millionaire. Yeah, by catching shrimp. He worked his ass off to catch those shrimp. How hard are you working by going, screw you, government employees. You're my servants. Bow down before me. I am the master. You are the servant. You do what I say. How hard is that? Compared to running out in a boat in the middle of a horrible storm and pulling up giant 5,000-pound nets of shrimp. And Forrest Gump's fiction. Yeah, exactly, Unclean. It's not like Forrest Gump was a documentary. Let's see. We don't see. Forrest Gump was a documentary. Misery loves company. It's that simple. Well, that's just it. There's a lot of people that are stupid, especially in this country. There are a lot of people who are full of hate. And there are a lot of people who are butthurt because instead of taking responsibility for their actions, they get arrested or pulled over or ticketed or something. And instead of taking responsibility for their own actions, they decide to dedicate the rest of their lives to blaming everyone else for every bad thing that happened to them. It's the government's fault. It's the tyrannical cops' fault. It's the evil society's fault. It's never your fault. It's not your fault you were speeding. It's the government's fault for pulling you over. It's not your fault for not leaving when they ask you to leave. It's their fault for asking you to leave in the first place. No one tell them it's just a movie. Let's see. It's not their fault they beat their wives. Yeah, they definitely are butthurt. Crowd shots. Wharf Bear. Forrest made his money on Apple? No. Forrest made his money off of Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. The Apple stock thing was, I mean, all the other things that worked out for him money-wise, the fortune that, like, the pool of money he got that he was able to use to do everything else came from the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. Yeah, it's like, if you want to invest, you need money to invest. Well, where'd he get that money from? Well, it's because he was a shrimp boat captain. Plus he was, great. Yeah, exactly, Scott. Forrest was a statist. That's right. Hey, here we go. Actually, it's not a secret, so some of you may know. And this isn't like a guess or a maybe or a thing. This is canon. This is legit. When Forrest walks up to the microphone to give the speech at the Washington Monument, and someone unplugs his microphone, he gives his speech, and they plug it back in, and we don't hear it. Who knows what Tom Hanks actually said, what his speech actually was? There is an answer. Professional photographers are very keen on knowing about licensing. 0.00000000001% of Rogue's brain cells ran away as a teen. People are bad, especially for auditors. That's true. Yeah, see, here's the thing. professional photographers have a tendency to, go into the places before they film and talk to the department that, to ask them, hey, can I film? Like when I audited the post office. All I had to do was ask. That was it. You have the right to film unless blah, 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 authorized personnel. Authorized personnel told me, go ahead, film. So I went ahead and I filmed. Easy as pie. You want to get, like I said, you want to get actual footage of what it actually looks like when they deal with the actual public. You don't walk in there with the camera, which the camera itself isn't filming their natural reactions. The cameraman is causing the reaction. If you want to get footage of their actual normal reactions, FOIA that security footage that you're always saying is the same thing. Wait, somebody said something we were talking about. Oh, yes, Scott, that's true. The kid who plays Forrest as a kid, originally they wanted to have Tom Hanks kind of figure out how he wanted to talk and then try to teach the kid to talk that way. While Forrest liked the way the kid talked, and he actually learned how to talk like the kid. Rogue is very smart. He's going to be a lawyer. Oh, that would be hilarious. That's funny. Yeah, Archangel, that is hilarious. Anyway, what Forrest Gump said during the speech, that when they unplug the microphone and he's talking and we, the audience, don't hear him, what he actually said, the lines that were in the script that Tom Hanks actually said were, they said, what do you have to say about Vietnam? And he goes, well, in Vietnam, your best friend can get shot. And that's all I have to say about that. And that's why they were like, oh, wow, man, that was great. But nobody heard it. Let's see. Rogue Nation, how often do you speak to a shrink? He needs to. George is going to be just like Mark Stevens. Yeah, right. Let's see. Broken sister, broken trust. Oh no, we don't need that. We have too many constitutional law scholars that have never read the Constitution running around as it is. He said sometimes your sons come home with no legs and sometimes they don't come home at all. That's right. Oh man, that's all I have to say about that. Anyway, Forrest Gump was a movie. It wasn't a documentary. So David, stop using that as an example of how the real world works, because it's not the real world. It's a movie. But yeah, either way, let's see. And you're the only authorized personnel that matters because you're the owner, because it's public property, blah, 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 blah. Any info on Fenton Vargas? Nope. John Anderson, some people don't come back with legs. So he was talking about Lieutenant Dan. All right. I thought he was talking about Bubba. But either way, do you think just reading the Constitution makes you informed on the Constitution? Do you think reading the Constitution makes you informed on the Constitution? Of course not. Rogue, that's such a stupid question. Of course, reading the Constitution doesn't make you informed on the Constitution. Using it as a rolling paper to smoke your doobies, that's how you get informed about it. Of course, reading it is how you get informed on it. That's what you do is you read it. What the hell are you talking about? Do you think reading Moby Dick is going to tell you what Moby Dick was about? Yeah? Like, what? Oh, man. What about reading the anti-federalist papers? Well, I mean, what are we going to do? We're going to start reading Nietzsche and what was the thing he was bringing up? He was bringing up I don't remember what it was. He was talking about something that was written like 200 years before the America even started. Like, oh well. Have you read any books on the Constitution? Have you read any books at all? That's what Rogue does. He reads things he has no idea what they mean and then regurgitates it to try and impress people. Yeah, there you go. Oh man. The Federalist Papers, yeah. The new Top Gun actually doesn't suck. No, that's the best remake of Star Wars I've seen in a long time. Rogue spews heresy. Yeah, he does. All of these guys are anti-American, big time. Me, what's up, you? How you doing, me? Good morning. Yeah. Do you comprehend those books that you read? All signs point to no. Yeah, you know, what's funny is that, like, and I think he said this earlier today, actually. It's like, oh yeah, you guys know all the answers and we don't know anything, huh? Well, there's a difference between me saying, you know, this is blue and it has a yellow dot, and when I push the button it opens when I push on the yellow dot. And then you say, oh no, that's orange and it's a green dot, and when you push on it nothing happens. Well, I'm not, when I say you're wrong, because this is blue, it has a yellow dot, and when I push it, it opens. Like, that doesn't mean that I think I'm better than you. Like, we joke around and holler at each other and have an entertaining show and go back and forth, and that's fine. But the reality of it is, when you say, oh, you guys know everything and we don't, huh? No, it's not. But facts are facts. It doesn't matter what you say or think or how you interpret. If I say this is blue, it isn't because I'm some, brainwashed nut. It's because this is freaking blue. When I say that frauditing is stupid, it's because frauditing is stupid. When I say walking up to somebody and giving them a hard time because they're your servant, and servants have to do what you say when you say it because you're their boss, that's crap. It doesn't matter if we agree or disagree. It's garbage. It's crap. It's nonsense. Truth is truth. It doesn't matter if you choose not to accept the truth. It doesn't matter if you don't believe it. What's your definition of blue? Well, it has to do with light waves bouncing off of the... My definition of blue is light waves, photons, bouncing off of an item and bouncing back off into your eyes within the blue spectrum of light. Higher than ultraviolet, lower than orange and yellow. Does that work for you? I know. I'm just going along with it because it's fun. Spaz time. No, I'm not going to spaz. Me and me and me. Me and me were having fun. That's all. I had to think for a second though, because I'm like, okay, if so it'd actually be green and indigo. So between green and indigo, the light waves, the photons that land within the wavelength between green and indigo are blue. How about that? Are you talking about the recent Star Wars trilogy? Oh no, someone. It was kind of a joke and kind of actually true. Someone mentioned that they liked the new Tom Cruise movie. What was it? I saw it in the theater, dagnabbit. Top Gun. Somebody said that they liked the new Top Gun movie. And what I said was, yeah, that movie was a great remake of Star Wars. And it was. It really was. Let's see. Indigo is blue and purple. Yeah, I know. But I mean, the wavelengths in between, kind of like yellow and blue or green, right? But it's the two different wavelengths hitting each other. I just know more than most. Yeah, about being a douche canoe. Let's see. The 10th Amendment in a nutshell. Anything not mentioned or covered in the Constitution is left to the states. Exactly. It's a Tom Cruise circle jerk. Stop gaslighting. You're placed in timeout, not booted. Well said, Blue. No. You know more than most auditors, which isn't exactly saying much. I saw Maverick and I loved it. Here's the thing. I liked watching Maverick. I had fun watching the movie. But if you know the original Star Wars, I mean, Society Red, what's up? When it got to the point where they literally were going down a dangerous trench to blow up something small, like that 2 meters. Yeah, that's not bigger than 2 meters. I mean, it's literally the same thing. Fighters dropped a bomb into that small hole. That's right. Anyway, you guys, I think it's about time to wrap it up here. We've been on for over 3 hours. We had some like the Death Star. Right. It was like the Death Star trench run. Exactly. They had like 2 mountains and they had to go in between. And there was this tiny little like bomb or trigger or whatever in the middle that they, and even like if you're really deep into Star Wars like I am, I actually know the name of the other pilot. His name was Wedge Antilles, and he's the one that came around and took the shot. I mean, not originally like with Han Solo, they combined all 3 of the original films in Top Gun, but like his buddy, Maverick's buddy, coming back and swooping back in to get him is just like when Wedge Antilles swept around and took the shot, or when Han Solo came around and took the shot after Luke, was told to use the Force. I mean, it all very much follows the same basic plot. Anyway, such a nerd. Yes. Love you guys. Thank you for joining. Always have fun. Always love to see you guys. Did Tom Cruise use the Force? No, but he did an impossible run and pulled it off because he's Maverick. Anyway, it is a good movie. I'm not going to diss it, but it definitely borrowed a lot of ideas from the original Star Wars. There's actually someone did a YouTube video that does like a side-by-side comparison. It's hilarious. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Always have fun with you guys. Love you guys. See you in the morning. And until next time, yeah, I'm all shook up. All right.